Hi, I'm Chris Haroun, and this MBA degree program is not what you think it is. It's better. This program is more than 25 years of business experience, all rolled into one easy-to-access online program. I've sold over 1 million courses in every single country. I've worked at Goldman Sachs. I have an MBA from Columbia University, and I've worked in the venture capital, hedge fund, and consulting industries. I've also started many companies, and my courses have been featured in Forbes, Business Insider, CNN, and NBC. If you're ready to nail your next interview, get a better job, get a raise, start that business you've always dreamt of, improve the one you currently run, or better manage your personal finances, then this MBA degree program is for you. I can't begin to tell you how comprehensive this program is. It's got everything, including more than 300 hours of on-demand video. I would have to do one of those dramatic opening title crawls from a certain space movie just to show you. And check out all the amazing reviews from students who have already enrolled in this MBA degree program. This on-demand version of the program is only $499, and it's more up to date than many of these old-fashioned MBA programs, which cost you well over $100,000. Not to mention, they don't even teach you the practical concepts included in my program. Last but not least, there is a 30-day, 100% money-back guarantee. And because you can access this program from any device, meaning a desktop computer, or a laptop computer, or a tablet, or even your smartphone, it means you can comfortably fit it into your schedule. Even if you work full-time, it's no problem. So if you're ready to unlock the key to your potential, then I'll see you in class. Good morning and welcome to our 96th weekly webcast. If this is the first time you're joining us, welcome. If you've been with us before, welcome back. And so the way the call works is it's 3 hours long and I answer anything you ask me. I answer personal questions, business questions, career questions, and the call has, actually we add a transcript to the call now. Within 24 hours of the call being completed, if you go to the description field of this video, you'll see all the questions asked at the exact times, so you can click and get immediate access to all the questions. So you can ask me business questions, personal questions, career questions, etc. And again, if I don't answer the question, or I miss it, or if I don't give you the right answer, please put me on the spot because I want to humbly help you if I possibly can. Thanks as always, and let's begin. All right, first question is from Albus. Albus is saying, "Hi Chris, hope you're doing well." Likewise. I want to know about the best way to revive a company's profits after COVID-19. Industries like luggage manufacturing and travel have been affected a lot. Any ideas? Yeah, it's tough. It's hard. So there's a lot of government programs globally, stimulus programs that you might be able to tap into. If you're not sure if your company qualifies or if you qualify personally, you can contact your local congressperson or member of parliament, depending on where you live in the world. Or you can just do a search online, obviously, for stimulus programs. Now, when it comes to retooling your business, unfortunately, COVID has caused all of us to think about how to conducting commerce entirely online. And so when it comes to a luggage business or any business, I think the best way to advertise your product online is to create YouTube videos. Anybody can do it. All you need is a cell phone, which you have, and internet access. And the best way to do it is to add value, help people by making videos on YouTube or LinkedIn articles, and be consistent. Try to do it at least once a week if you can. I do it daily, which is a little bit out there, but it's fun for me to challenge myself. And so the way the new economic environment works is you have to add value to a customer before they buy your product. And so when it comes to travel, and I'm thinking out loud here, but perhaps you can create a number of different vlogs regarding luggage, but more importantly, safe travel tips. So you could create safe travel tips when you have COVID almost everywhere in the world. You can discuss basic things like masks, gloves, etc. And then you can, at the very end of that video, you could show a splash screen or whatever it is for the product that you're selling, or a card up in the top right-hand corner. Try to be innovative as well if you can when it comes to travel tips. Like for me, for example, the biggest thing that's, I think, helping myself and my family be somewhat careful with this awful healthcare crisis we're going through is, this is out there, but I bite my nails. I've been doing it since I was a kid, and I can't stop. I've tried. And my kids do the same thing. And I asked my doctor, I said, why is it you're never sick? And she said, because I never touch my face and I always wash my hands. So what I do is this. There's this product I bought, and I'm not sponsored by anybody ever. It's called Probell, Probelle. And what I do is I put it on my nails. You can't even tell it's there. And I do it with my kids as well. And if you bite your nails, it tastes just terrible. It's awful. Again, it's Probell. I think it's a fantastic product. I humbly recommend getting it. And so the bottom line is, if you're in the luggage business, then I would actually make videos on YouTube that will help people when it comes to travel tips, staying safe, for example, because the reality is you have to add a lot of value before people buy your product or service in this new digital reality. And if you have additional questions based on that, or if I can humbly help you in any other way, please let me know, and thank you. Okay, next question. Oh, Albus is saying, I love your courses. Thank you. God bless you. I appreciate it. Thank you. My students inspire me so much. I'm so blessed that I get the opportunity to do this and this is the 96th week. I can't believe it. Can't believe it. It still gets hot in here. Hold on. I got this new Mac computer, and it's really quiet. It's a big one. It's really quiet, but it gives off a lot of heat. So if I was still in Canada where I grew up during the winters, I'd keep it on all the time. Next question is from Shubham, who's saying, hi, Chris. Hey, man. Hope you're doing well. Likewise. For a startup, is revenue more important or EBITDA? In case it is revenue, when does a reduction of operation costs become a significant challenge to break even? Yeah. Okay, so the question is, for a startup, what's more important, revenue or EBITDA? And for those of you not familiar with EBITDA, EBITA stands for earnings before I tricked dumb accountant. And so revenue's more, just kidding, it stands for earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. And the reason people like to look at earnings before interest, taxes, and other stuff is because if you're comparing two companies that are in different countries that sell a similar product, it's hard to compare them apples to apples basis if one has higher taxes in their country or different amortization or depreciation laws. That's why you look at EBITDA. For example, if you were comparing a Swiss watch company to an American watch company, you'd look at EBITDA, and of course you'd look at net profits as well. But you look at EBITDA because it's an apples-to-apples basis. You can compare both companies in different countries that have different interest rate and different taxes. Interesting little tidbit is that Apple sold more watches last quarter than every Swiss company did last quarter. It's pretty amazing, But when it comes to a startup, and as you see behind me, I've got a bunch of exhibits, which is what I love to do when I teach. And these are for my MBA degree students. This week we're discussing venture capital. And so when you first start a company, you raise money from seed investors. Right here you can see seed. I'll back up so the camera kind of focuses there. Then after a year, you might want to raise money from a venture capital firm called an A round. Then a year or two later, a B round, then C round, and then IPO, which is that tree over there. That's my analogy. And so for the early stage, what's really important is revenue, not earnings at all. Okay, so and very sophisticated investors, angel investors, as well as venture capitalists, they know that you're not going to be profitable at first and not for quite a while. And that's okay. And I always recommend that you don't raise debt to start a company. You always raise equity because banks are chicken. And if you make one mistake and you can't pay back your loan on time, they can take stuff from your company. And always register your company using a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer, so you protect your family, etc. So you always want to use equity. Okay, and that's the crux of a balance sheet on that top shelf there. I don't know if you can see that. On the left side is assets, like your car and a house. Assets equals the stuff on the right side there, liabilities plus equity. Liability is the bank there. That's debt. That's bad. And equity is that dude standing there. You always want to raise equity when you're starting a company, meaning have somebody own part of your company. And sophisticated investors know from a venture capital perspective that you're not going to be profitable from day one. You just aren't. And so raise money from high net worth investors. And you can read my book on how to do this for free. Go to my website, harounventures.com, and download my networking book for free. I'll show you it here. I promise you it helps you out a lot. Go to my website, harouneducation.com, download this book because relationships are more important than product knowledge. And this will help you a lot when you're raising equity from high net worth investors. And so when you raise money initially, the focus is obviously to create your product and or service, or hire engineers or hire salespeople so that you can sell your product or service domestically and globally. And all investors care about early on is revenue. And that's why a lot of early stage companies and even some tech companies that go public, they're not profitable. And so investors love to look at the price to revenue multiple, meaning for every $1 in revenue on the denominator, how many times that price or that revenue are people willing to pay? So if it's 15 times revenue, which is what cloud companies usually go for, that means $1 in revenue on the denominator and $15 for the price. So they pay 15 times revenue. And investors love to look at price to revenue multiples if companies are not profitable. And so, yeah, revenue is all that matters early on. The very first stage, actually, for the seed stage, when you first raise money, what's actually more important than revenue is what's called your burn rate. And your burn rate basically means this. You take the amount of cash you have for that company, and then you figure out how much money you're losing every month. And you take the amount of cash you have divided by the number, how much you're losing each month, and that's how many months you have left alive before you have to raise more money in another round. So if you have 120 bucks and you lose 10 bucks each month, then 120 divided by 10 means 12. Your burn rate is 12. You got 12 months of capital left to live. And all you're focused on is growing revenue. Now, I know a lot of people out there are probably watching this thinking, I don't get it, Chris. I've always been taught to invest in companies that are very profitable. Well, yes, in the long run. But you don't want companies to be profitable right away because you want them to be able to hire salespeople, engineers, etc. And so if you're profitable from day one, you're really hurting yourself because you're not going to be growing fast enough. Like for me, for example, I reinvest a lot in my business, through employees, through technology, through distribution channels, et cetera, to sell my MBA degree program and other courses. Yes, I can be much more profitable today, but I'd be hurting myself longer term because I wouldn't be growing as quickly. And so all I care about is revenue now. Now, I am profitable. I wasn't at first. My MBA degree program, when I launched on December 2nd of 2019 last year, it wasn't profitable until recently. We just broke even, actually. And if I want to be profitable from day one, I wouldn't have been able to use great equipment or be able to do a lot of work on case studies, etc. Now, after a couple of rounds, like we talked about here, the seed rounds, and I didn't raise any money. I did it myself this time. And I've failed over and over and over again, like Michael Jordan. That's why sometimes I succeed just a little bit. But after you raise money from your seed rounds and then a couple more venture capital rounds, then right when you're about to go public, a lot of investors want you to actually be profitable or close to being profitable. And so if you're profitable before taxes and interest and depreciation, then your EBITA is positive, and that's a good thing. The last thing I'll say on this is that the reason why I don't personally like companies to be profitable from day one is because they're shooting themselves in the foot. Like I've always prided myself on being a growth investor. You can either be a value investor like Warren Buffett and buy cheap stuff that's not growing fast, or you can be a growth investor like venture capitalists are and buy stuff that's expensive today but is really cheap based on earnings in the future. Let me give you an example. So for years, I owned LinkedIn as well as Amazon and a great company called NetSuite, ticker was letter N, and then Oracle bought them. And people thought I was crazy. They would say, Chris, I think you're crazy investing in those companies. You're crazy because they trade at over 100 times earnings, price earnings multiple of 100, meaning price on the numerator denominator is earnings. For every $1 in earnings, I was paying 100 times that $1. People thought I was crazy. But I said, no, I look at it differently. I actually think these companies are trading at 4 times earnings. And they would say, what do you mean by that? That's not right. I would say, no, it's right. Because I don't value companies based on earnings this year or next year. I value companies based on my earnings expectations in my financial model 10 or 15 years from now. And so the price earnings for Amazon for me right now is like 3 times my earnings estimate in 10 years, for example. And so Jeff Bezos, if he wanted to, he could make Amazon incredibly profitable today. The reason he doesn't do it is because he's investing for growth. You know, he wants to be able to hire more engineers, open up more server farms, expand Amazon Web Services, etc., so that he can be very, very profitable many years from now in the future. And that's what I love investing in, is amazing management teams that are so long-term focused. And as Warren Buffett said, the longer the view, the wiser the intention. And so we look at revenue early on when a company first gets started, and a lot of times they don't have revenue. And then after a couple of rounds, maybe by the A or B rounds, venture capital-wise, then we look at EBITDA multiples. And when a company goes public, at least a tech stock, a lot of the times they're still not profitable except for on an EBITDA basis, meaning earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. And then eventually they become profitable when they went public. And the last thing I'll say is this. The way it works is, at least here in the United States where I'm based, in the San Francisco Bay Area, there's something called Sand Hill Road. And that's kind of like Wall Street, but on the West Coast. Sand Hill Road is where a lot of the venture capital firms are. They invest in private companies. Wall Street on the East Coast of the United States, in New York, of course, is where a lot of the investment banks are. And they specialize in publicly traded companies. So what usually happens is this. Here on the West Coast, in Palo Alto, sorry, no more dad humor, a lot of startups will get money from venture capital firms, and revenue growth is accelerating. And then once revenue growth starts to decelerate but still positive, then the venture capitalists here give the company to Wall Street, and the investment bankers like Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, UBS, etc., those investment banks will take the company public. So usually for a private company, revenue growth is accelerating. And then when it goes public, it's right at that point where revenue growth is decelerating but still positive. Almost every single publicly traded company has revenue growth that's positive but decelerating. It's true. If you have additional questions, please let me know. And thanks as always. Appreciate that. So I just put in this... I put in this treadmill below me here. I'll show you. And I get 15,000 steps in a day. And I can pull my desk up and down. The reason I'm showing you this is because my chair just went off the track here. Yeah. So if you're curious, what I do is I raise this up here. And then I walk a lot while I'm working with my monitors here. It's the cheapest treadmill out there. It's called Fitbill. I don't get any money for ever mentioning any products, but it's great. It's great. And I've lost actually 10 pounds using it, and I don't even realize I'm exercising. I feel like Laura Linney from the Truman Show, trying to pitch all these products that I don't make money from. Hey there. All right, next question. Next question is, what do you think are the biggest issues in communication gaps between employees, especially in big teams? Yeah, I think the biggest issue is not asking for feedback. If you want to get a raise or a promotion, you always have to ask. And obviously you ask at the right time, meaning once you reach a great milestone. But I think a big problem is not asking for feedback. And a lot of people get fired and they get surprised that they got fired. Well, one way to make sure that the probability of you not getting fired goes down a lot is to constantly ask for feedback from your manager. You don't have to do it all the time. Maybe every couple of months or so, you can sit down with them on a quiet day in an afternoon when work is not busy. And you can sit down with them and you can start by saying something like this. And I'm making this up. Make sure it's sincere, though. I really love being a part of this team. We've accomplished a lot together. The culture's fantastic. And I'm really optimistic about the future. But I wanted to ask you, please, for some feedback, because I wanted to add much more value, if I humbly can, to the team. And then your boss will give you feedback because you asked. And always ask one-on-one. Obviously, never do it in a team-based setting. And good managers will always praise in public and only criticize in private. So this is their opportunity to criticize you. And I say it with love in my heart. They'll tell you what you need to do to improve. And this way you won't be blindsided when the firm unfortunately has to make cuts. And a lot of times big companies cut into muscle and not just fat. They overhire and they overfire. I don't want that to happen to you. If you ask for feedback every month or 2 or 3 from your boss, then the likelihood of you getting let go goes down a lot. And the likelihood of you getting a raise and a promotion goes up a lot. Why? Because during that meeting, I want you to ask this also. Living here in the Bay, I'm making this up. Living here in the Bay Area, is very, very expensive. And I'm trying to raise a family and give them the best possible living standards I can. And so I wanted to ask you, what would it take for me to get promoted? Or what would it take for me to get a raise? And just hear what they have to say. And obviously do it when the timing is right, when they're in a good mood, kind of like asking mom and dad for something when they're in a good mood. You know what I'm talking about? And whatever they tell you, obviously write it down. And then after you reach a big milestone and you're congratulated by your boss, then ask for a meeting and start the meeting with, I love being a part of this team, if it's true. We've accomplished a lot together. I remember a little while ago, we talked about what I need to do in order to get a raise or a promotion. And I'm very humbled to say that I've actually accomplished these, and I'd love to please ask you if I could please get that raise or promotion. That's when you do it. You got to ask for feedback, and you always got to ask for a promotion and a raise. The amazing thing is that a lot of us go to school and we get good grades and our parents are proud of us and life works out great for us. And then we start working and we keep our head down and try to do a good job and think that life is going to work out great for us like it did when we were in school, we got good grades. The reality is that's not the way the world works. And it's frustrating because you might have done well in school and then you're working for other people and then people around you are getting raises faster than you or they're getting promoted faster than you. What you don't realize is that those people sit down with your boss and ask them one-on-one for a raise or a promotion. And every single CEO of big companies on the planet, without exception, every single one of them got there because over the years, as they climbed that corporate ladder, they asked for raises and promotions. You will never get anything in life unless you ask. And if you get a chance for homework, please just go to YouTube and search for 3 words. Steve Jobs Ask. It's a 1-minute long video that will change your life. Again, Steve Jobs Ask. You have to ask. You have to ask, always, or you'll get nothing. Same thing with a date or anything in life. And my goodness, I had to ask many times. Too many times. Okay. And also, in terms of other ways to provide feedback to employees, especially working remotely, what I've done when I've hired new employees over the years, especially if they're not close to where I am, if they're overseas or whatever it might be, what I do is this. I don't micromanage, but initially, I want to kind of keep track of what's happening with this employee. And so I ask the employee every day when they first start, if they're brand new, every day to send me an email at the end of each day that contains 3 things. Number 1, what did you accomplish today? Number 2, what do you want to accomplish tomorrow? And number 3, issues or questions you have. And so I get that daily for a while. And then once the employee starts really taken off their career wise, I ask for it weekly, then monthly, that sort of thing, then quarterly, and then eventually just hands off. I love to give my employees a ton of autonomy. And I find that really helps with productivity as well. Don't micromanage like that forever, only with brand new employees. I promise you it works. Okay. Next question is, what made you interested in teaching, specifically after your tenure in the corporate world? How is being a teacher different from being a mentor, like a manager of a team? I think they're similar, because I think when one teaches to learn, and thank you for asking that question, by the way, but what happened with me was I always loved helping other people. And so I was that guy that would get the annual meeting with my boss, and my boss would say, Chris, you're doing a great job. You're exceeding expectations. And it was really uncomfortable for them to say this next part. They would then say this: however, is there a way you can maybe spend a little bit less time helping other people in the company, in our division and other divisions, meaning mentoring them? It was tough for them to ask that. My answer was always, I'm so sorry, but no. I love helping people. It's what I love doing. And I love mentoring other people too. And when you mentor somebody, what happens is you're kind of reminding yourself of your core competencies, which reminds yourself on what your career blueprint really is to help you get to the next level. And so I really, pardon me, I really enjoy helping people. I always have, always. And then what happened was I was working in venture capital for a number of years here in the Bay Area. Give me 1 second. I'm so sorry. I'm putting you on mute. Sorry about that. I was working in venture capital here in the Bay Area. And I started teaching during the evenings at several different MBA universities and undergraduate institutions. And I loved it. And it was late at night. And I was so fired up. And I enjoyed it so much. I loved it. And I'm the type of guy and we're all different. We're all wired differently. But embedded within the DNA subfabric of who I am, my essence, is I get depressed every day unless I help somebody. So every day is not complete for me unless I help somebody else. Don't expect to accomplish your dreams in life unless you help somebody else accomplish theirs first. And so what I started doing was one day I put my courses on this unbelievable website called Udemy. And Udemy is an online education platform, and they dominate. And I don't get compensated for saying this. It's an algorithm anyway. If my courses sucked, which many of them do, they won't sell. But Udemy is Google and everyone else is Bing in the ed tech market. Or Udemy is Twitch and everyone else is Mixer. Microsoft just pulled the plug on Mixer. So I put my courses up on Udemy, and I didn't really know what I was doing. I set up a camera at home in our bedroom, and my wife said, honey, that's not happening. No, that's not what I meant. Yeah. The problem with doing these live webcasts is I'm one dumb comment or dumb dad humor comment away from destroying my life. So I put up a camera in my bedroom, and I started making courses, and I put them online, and it didn't feel like work. It felt like something I'm incredibly passionate about. I absolutely loved it. And I love teaching people based on my mistakes and the many mistakes I've made in business. I've been successful too, obviously, but I made a lot of mistakes. And for those of you that work for schmucks that treat you poorly, you're learning. You're learning how not to treat people. And as Michael Jordan said, and I've got a great sign there I got on Etsy, I failed over and over and over again in my life, and that's why I succeed. And so I started teaching based on my failures and my small successes. And I loved it. And it gave me this unbelievable euphoria, this amazing feeling, kind of like taking, some sort of antidepressant. It made me happy, really happy. And I got up one day and I went into work, and my venture capital partners were wonderful. I love them. And I said, this is what I was meant to do. I have to do this. I have to teach. And people in the industry said, Chris, you're crazy. Why don't you come back to the hedge fund industry or come back to the venture capital industry? I worked in both sectors. And I said, no, I just want to be me. I just want to teach. I just want to help people if I possibly can. And when you do something that you love doing, it's like a video game. You level up, you get an extra man, and just things start working out. You feel happier. I know it's a bizarre thing to say, but I'm a big video gamer. I love it. But the feeling of working, of doing your own thing and doing something you love doing, it's kind of like when you hold your child for the first time, you unlock this unbelievable amount of euphoria, love, happiness you never thought you could feel. When you work for yourself or you do something you love doing, working for somebody else, when you do what you love doing, you feel that kind of happiness. Not as good, obviously, because having a kid is way, way better than working and stuff, but it feels like that. And so I challenge you, and I say with love in my heart, I humbly challenge you to have the courage to write down your 10-year goals and find out what you were made to do in life. And whatever that is, I want you to run after that and not give a damn what anybody thinks. You know, Mark Twain had this great quote. He said the two most important days in your life are, number one, the day you're born, and then number two, the day you find out why. What's your why? You know, if you were given 6 months off and you cannot work and you cannot go to school and you can't travel, what would you do with your time? That's your purpose. That's what you should be doing in life, no matter what anybody tells you. You know, don't live your life to try to please other people. Otherwise, you'll always be miserable in your life. You'll always be someone else's prisoner in your mind. And as Les Brown said, you know, someone else's opinion of you does not have to become your reality. You know, enough is enough. You got to tell yourself, I'm going to fail a lot. I'm going to fail fast. And I'm going to keep trying until I launch my own company or establish a career that I'm passionate about. And I'm not going to chase money. And I get it. Early on, we do have to chase money a bit. Of course, we have to support a family. But in the long run, enough is enough, man. Like, if you chase money, you'll lose your dreams and your money. But if you chase your dreams, as long as you're willing to fail at least a couple times, please fail more than at least a couple times, then something wonderful happens. You wake up one day and your dreams became a reality and the money followed you accidentally. Go for it. Write down your long-term goals. Go for your dream. It's never too late to start. If your dream was always to be a rock and roll star, and in the 1960s, you played in a band, and now you're 70, and you're like, gosh, life has passed me by, and I kind of want to be in a band. Then be in a band. Be the first awesome rock star to launch his career at the age of 75 or whatever it is. And you know what? People, between the 1950s and today, people are living 26 years longer today than they did back then. So you're not 75, you're actually 49. 59, 69, yeah. 49, you know what I mean? Minus 26 years. So it's never too late to start over. The best way to start over is to retool and learn online. You know, take courses on Udemy or take my MBA degree program, and you can go to my website to learn more about this. There's a 30-day, 100% money-back guarantee on my MBA degree program. And my website is harouneducation.com. Thank you. Okay. Next question is, what were the biggest challenges you faced when you were starting your own company? Yeah. Well, I think that failing to plan is planning to fail. And I say that because most people don't write business plans. I do when I start companies, but I didn't always do this. And by the way, if you want to write a business plan, you can take my course called the Complete Business Plan Course. Just go to Udemy's website, search for my name. And there's a 30-day, 100% money-back guarantee. But I really do believe that a lot of companies fail because they don't plan accordingly. And my course, my business plan course, is 9 hours long. And it will definitely help you understand whether or not you should launch this company. And if I've convinced you by taking my course not to start your company, then I've done my job. I know that sounds strange because I've saved you, humbly I think, years on your life and your bank account and your relationship with others if you write that business plan and it convinces you not to start that company. You only have to be right in business one time. And so I want you to take my complete business plan course over and over and over again and keep writing business plans, rinse, lather, repeat, until you write one where all the stars are aligned and that business model is touched by God, so to speak. Then launch your company. But I really think the problem with most companies, including my own, my earlier companies I started, is I didn't plan accordingly. Failing to plan is planning to fail. All right. Next question. And by the way, I see a lot of questions here that people entered in several hours before this webcast began. If you enter questions more than 5 hours before this call started, YouTube deletes them, unfortunately. And I saw it last night. A bunch of people enter questions last night. This happens all the time. So please only enter questions like a couple hours maybe before the call starts. Thank you. Okay, next question is, what ways would you suggest to keep my employees and customers and suppliers engaged with one another? Yeah. So I think the best way to develop a team-based or collegial corporate culture is to have team-based activities and games during working hours only, never on the weekend. Like, I'm always against going to the boss's house on the weekend for forced family fun, to view his or her house that I help pay for, because I get paid this much to make their dreams become a reality. Sorry, that was a little off topic, but I'm trying to encourage you all that if you're frustrated, to want to start your own companies. But I don't believe in forced family fun for weekend events. It's not fair. It takes me away from my family and friends, and my family is more important than anything. I believe that if you're going to build a strong culture within a company, you should do team-based exercises during working hours and make them fun as well. And I've actually got a great course that you can take called How to Motivate Employees. And let me see if I can go show it to you here. Yeah. So just go here to my website, HarounEducation.com. Then you can click on courses. And then down here, there's a course. Here it is here. Yeah. It's called How to Motivate Employees so that productivity increases. And in this course, and with all my courses, there's a 100% money back guarantee. In this course, I teach you how to motivate employees, and it costs you next to nothing to do so. And you get a free copy of my book, which is a couple hundred pages on how to motivate employees in that course. But I think the best way to change the corporate culture and get people to communicate more so with each other is to have team building events during working hours. And when I worked at Accenture, I'll never forget this. My manager at the time was Greg Mushamanskel in Toronto. And he headed up this team building event in 1995. And what we did was about 20 of us at Accenture went into this one room. And he split up the teams into groups of 3 or 4 people. And he made sure that in those groups, no 2 people were together that hung out together. And then what he did was there was fun games. Like, what he did was he gave us all 5 groups or whatever it was, 1 egg, a raw egg, uncooked. And he also gave us 25 straws each and a little bit of tape. And then we had 5 or 10 minutes to build a contraption with straws and that tape so that when the egg was dropped, it wouldn't crack. And then what Greg did was I think he's in Australia now, still working for Accenture. He would hold up the egg and then drop it from different heights. It was fun. It was a little bit out there, cray-cray, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. So that's the best way to get people to work with each other and get to know each other better. And incorporate, like, bring your suppliers along for those events as well, and part-timers too. Treat them like they're family, man, because they feel like family and they feel loved. Then the corporate culture is going to be enhanced and they'll be much more productive and the work environment will be much more fun. It's great having fun at work. And so for more tips on how to create a more collegial or team-based environment, please check out my course called How to Motivate Employees. As with all my courses, there's a 30-day 100% money-back guarantee, and you get my free book on how to motivate employees. Thank you. All right. The next question is, do you think work experience is necessary before joining an MBA program? I don't know. Like one of the reasons why doing an MBA might make sense for you is if you currently have a job and you hate doing what you're doing and you want to change careers. If that's the case and you're young or old, it doesn't matter, and you have a lot of work experience and you hate your job, then I think that doing an MBA or an MBA degree online, like my program, for example, can really help you retool and discover what your passion is business wise so that you can make that career change. And I teach you a lot of networking skills as well to help you get informational interviews and get jobs at basically any company. That's right. And I have a course called the Complete Job Course, which is my only course that has a lifetime 100% money back guarantee, personally backed by me, because I'm so convinced you'll get the job of your dreams by taking my Complete Job Course. I put my reputation and my wallet on the line. So check it out. It's called the Complete Job Course. Now, in terms of MBAs, I really do feel that you learn a lot more sometimes at business school from your fellow colleagues than you do from your teachers, because your fellow colleagues are from all over the world, your classmates. They have a breadth of diverse work experience as well. And so a lot of times admissions committees, and the way that I set up my program as well, I love to admit people into the platinum version of my program that are from all over the world with different life experiences as well, because again, you learn a lot from your classmates, and sometimes more so than the teacher in business school. Next one is Shabam is saying, thank you, Chris, for answering our questions and being a role model to me. My pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for being here. You've given us a wealth of knowledge without expecting anything in return. Thank you. I appreciate that. God bless you. Thank you. This is fun. This is fun. And Joao is saying, hey, Joao, hope you're doing well, buddy. He's saying, happy Thursday, Chris, and thanks for another day of learning that you provide. My pleasure. Thank you. God bless you. God bless you way more, buddy. Also, thanks for your last week's insights on the ways we can help achieve your goal. No, thank you. I appreciate that. That was a great question. Thank you. Thank you. And then Joao was saying, just a small correction. I'm from Angola in southwestern Africa and not from Brazil. I'm so sorry. I have another student named Joao who's from Brazil. But I remember I did make that comment. I'm very sorry. It won't happen again, I promise you. Angola was a Portuguese colony, and we also speak Portuguese, hence the name Joao. Fantastic. Thank you. And then he wrote, thanks again for your love and passion for teaching. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. But I went to Brazil to give a keynote a couple of years ago for a Start Say venture capital conference. And there's a guy named Sergio who works at Udemy who told me about the history of Brazil, and it's fascinating. And it was my first time there. What a beautiful country. Rio is the most beautiful city in the world, better than Barcelona even. But he told me that the first political leader of Brazil was named Joao, who came from Portugal. And he told me the whole story about it. And that's why whenever I hear Joao, I always think of Brazil. But I will remember Southwest Africa for you. Thank you. Next one is Ray. Ray is saying, hi, Chris. Thanks for existing. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. I don't know if my parents agree with that. Thank you. And then you wrote here, you mean so much to a lot of people. Thank you. I have so many questions I would like to ask. Please, anything. Thank you. Please tell me, how do you diversify among currencies if you don't hold cash for more than 6 months of expenses? And if possible, in how many currencies? Yeah. So I don't think that paper-based or fiat currencies, as they're called, are good investments at all. The problem with paper-based currencies is that we work hard for our money. Sounds like a Donna Summer song. She works hard for the money. You better treat her right. We work hard for our money. And governments then dilute our net worth by printing more paper, more currency, which basically dilutes our net worth. It's not fair. It is what it is, though. And so a way around this is to diversify by buying a well-balanced portfolio of stocks, bonds, commodities, real estate or REITs, etc. And maybe some cryptocurrencies too, maybe. But don't ever keep money in cash, or just a little bit. And the cash is the worst investment you can ever possibly make. It's the absolute worst investment. It's the worst piece of paper you'll ever invest in. You're better off buying old comic books or baseball cards, which I still collect because I'm a man child. Yeah. But whenever you get cash, what I want you to do, or your salary, I want you to have automatically deducted every paycheck from your bank account and put directly into your retirement savings programs so that it can grow tax-free. And you can buy stocks, bonds, commodities, real estate, etc., in many different retirement savings programs based on where you live. So I don't recommend investing in other currencies either, and I don't recommend trading currencies or trading stocks at all. I believe in being very, very long-term focused. And one of the reasons that Bitcoin was invented by Nakamoto-san, apparently, is because he or she or they, we don't know for real, Satoshi, created Bitcoin in early 2009 because of the fact that a lot of big countries were printing more currency and diluting the net worth of a lot of people. It wasn't fair. And so what I do like about cryptocurrencies, and I have a course called the Complete Cryptocurrency Course, is that there is a dearth or a limit of supply of the number of cryptos that can be created for many different cryptocurrencies. Now, I'm never going to tell you what cryptocurrencies to own or buy, and I think most of them are a scam. That's right. And when I started making the course, it's 24 hours long. When I started making the course, the Complete Cryptocurrency Course, I was a 7 out of 10 bullish or positive on cryptos. And by the end, after my extreme due diligence, it took 6 months of my life to make, working day and night. At the end, I was only a 3 out of 10. Meaning I was less positive on cryptos. I think most cryptos are a scam, but I do think some are wonderful investments. I'll never tell you what to buy, but I'll tell you, in the interest of full disclosure, I'm always very, transparency builds trust. I disclose a lot. So I've owned the following 4 cryptos forever, or not forever, for a long time, and I'm never selling them. Do your own research first, though. I own Bitcoin, I own Litecoin, I own Ripple, and I own Ether, which is based on the Ethereum platform. Those are the 4 I own. I've done a ton of research on those companies. Again, do your own research. Never rely on anybody else when it comes to which stocks, bonds, commodities, real estate products, or cryptocurrencies to buy. Yeah. But the bottom line is I think that cash is the worst investment we can possibly make because we have no control of how much somebody is going to print of that cash. All right. Next question is from Ray, who's saying, if I start up a company and I have $50,000 to invest, but I need $950,000 more, does this mean that I should give to the investors 95% of the company? Can you elaborate how that is done if it's not proportional? Yeah, no, absolutely not. You don't have to. You don't have to. So the way that venture capital works is you start out initially, and I've got props back here for, I'm teaching my MBA degree students this week about venture capital. But you start off with a seed investment, meaning one high net worth person might give you money. Then you raise more money the next year or 2 years later, whatever it is, from a venture capital firm. That's called the A round. Then a couple of years later or a year later, whatever, the B round, then C round. And when you're big enough, then IPO. And I've got a tree over there signifying the growth of that seed. And it's killing me. I'm dying to make a mustard seed parable comment now from the Bible. I won't do it. You guys can Google search that. There are wonderful parables there. Yeah. But when you grow your company and you collect money from investors, you're giving up partial ownership in the company along the way. And most companies that go public, the CEO, founder, she or he only owns less than 20% of the company, way less. And they're cool with it because they're billionaires by the time they go public. They own a smaller piece of a much larger pie. But no, the mathematics does not mean you give away 95% of your company. The way it works is as follows. Let's say you invest $50,000 of your own money, as you mentioned, in your company. You can determine whatever you want the company to be worth. It's up to you. And so let's say you want to raise money in the first round called the seed round right here. And somebody approaches you and says, I want to give you $1 million. You can then decide what percent of the company they'll own. And of course, you both have to agree and sign what's called a term sheet first. But you both decide collectively what the company is worth. So if they give you $1 million and you decide that your company is worth $2 million, then you own 50% of the company and they own the other 50%. And when you do the next round, like the A round, you got to make sure that the next round you value your company much higher than 2 million. Otherwise, your first investor is going to get upset with you and maybe block the deal if they're on your board. So you raise more money. Say you raise money from Sequoia, for example, and they invest another 5 million and they value your company at, I don't know, $25 million. Well, now Sequoia owns, 20% of the company. You own a heck of a lot less than 50%. And this investor here, the seed investor, owns less as well, percent-wise, of the company. Now, they have the pro rata rights in most cases to be able to invest more money in the next round, meaning the A round here, in order to keep the same percent of the company. But a lot of times they let themselves get diluted, and they don't mind because their investment is going up a lot in value by the time it goes public. Now, one of the worst things you can possibly do is during the seed round or the first stage, set the value. If you set the value of your company too high, it's problematic because no investor will want to invest at a higher valuation later, and your original investor doesn't want to get diluted big time by doing a down round. So you never want to do that. So always be careful when it comes to setting the valuation of your company in the very first round. And be careful who your investors are too, because getting a bad investor that joins up, the board of your company, getting a bad investor is worse than a bad marriage. With a bad marriage, people get divorced. It's sad but true. But with a bad investor, you're stuck with them forever, unless they sell their position, which rarely happens with a problematic startup. So just be really, really careful. Now, one more thing I want to share with you before wrapping this up is I want to show you, and I'm going to just change this angle here. It's driving me nuts. It defaults to the wrong one. Hold on a second. There we go. Okay, great. So another thing I want to show you is a term sheet and how to create a term sheet. So a term sheet is just a non-binding contract. And please talk to a real lawyer. I'm not a real lawyer. I never want to be a lawyer. Maybe a civil rights lawyer one day. That's it. How I feel about lawyers. I'm not going to go there. But there is a great law firm that I do respect. I've done business with called Wilson Sonsini. So you can go to wsgr.com and then search for term sheet generator. And what you can do here, and I actually had I had a partner from Wilson Sonsini actually guest lecture in one of my classes, and he introduced us to this. It was wonderful. So what you can do is you can go here to a term sheet generator on Wilson Sonsini's website. Okay, and what you do is you go through this. You click I agree, and I've read this, which I haven't. You go through this entire tool. Let me zoom out a bit too to make it easier to see all this good stuff. And you answer a bunch of questions. Okay, so for example, I have a fictitious company that I teach about called Shark Virtual Reality, which was founded by Tony Shark. And then you pick the states. And so California is where I'm based. It's expensive to start a company in California. It costs you $800 a year, roughly, in fees for LLCs. It's ridiculous. And so a lot of people love to create companies in Delaware, a Delaware registered company. You hear that a lot. And one of the reasons is because the people that wrote the Constitution of this great country, America, what they did was a lot of them were based on the East Coast in Delaware. And there are a lot of lawyers that work in politics. And so they know how to crank out these legal agreements at a much lower price. It's like a production line. So that's one of the reasons why people use Delaware. Okay, so then you click next and you enter in the type of firm that you want to write the term sheet for. And again, a term sheet is basically a non-legally binding contract. Don't do it yourself, get a lawyer to do it. It's a non-legally binding contract between you and the other person that wants to invest in your company, be it the A, B, or C round, etc., meaning venture capital firms. And after you agree on the terms in this 10 or 15 page term sheet, then your lawyer and their lawyers create just a ton of other paperwork listing all the risks and stuff. So you enter in here the series. It goes series A, B, C, and then hopefully IPO. And sometimes it goes later than B. it goes DEF. It's rare, but it happens. And then you click through here. And I'm not going to go through all this, but you click through all of these pages here in this wizard, and then a Microsoft Word or PDF document is created for you. So it's actually a good exercise, and they've done a great job with this website. And I think it's a great PR vehicle for them as well. Look what we're talking about it here. Obviously, I'm not competent to mention this, and I've worked with Wilson Sonsini in the past on VC deals, and they're great. They're great. And it's great actually for them for an upsell, I guess, to their legal services. Okay, but you can click through here and learn a lot more about that sort of thing. What you can also do is you can go to LegalZoom, and again, I'm not affiliated or comped by anybody. LegalZoom, did I spell that right? LegalZoom.com. Yeah, I must have made a typo. The older I get, the better I was. Yeah, you go to LegalZoom.com, and what you can do is you can set up your own company here and talk to a real lawyer, and it's really cheap. Like it costs you $15 per half hour to talk with lawyers. It's amazing. Or $30 if it's a business lawyer. They speak really slowly though. I'm just kidding. It's a good deal. I've used them a lot for intellectual property, for my trademarks and my copyrights on my courses, my books, etc. You can use them for a will and trust, and also for business formation. So check this out, or you can just talk to an attorney about any matter you want to. It's a great deal. It's a great deal, and I'm sure there's the equivalent of LegalZoom in other countries as well. So hopefully this helps you to understand how raising money works, and how much percent of a company an investor might possibly have through the different rounds. The first round is called the seed round, and I think the best way to raise money, Ray, initially is to read my networking book, which is free. And you can go to my website to learn more about this. And in my MBA degree program, I teach a lot more about this too. So go to HarounEducation.com, scroll down here, and download my networking book for free. It's a couple hundred pages. I promise you it'll help you to raise money. It'll help you to bond with people, because relationships are more important than product knowledge, and your net worth is your network. Okay. I like the blue lights back here. I'm going to stick with blue from now on, I think. I tried green before and it kind of messes up my complexion a bit. And when I tried doing green screen, it sucks because I have green eyes. Thanks, Mom. Just kidding. Love you, Mom, if you're watching. And Dada, too. And a lot of people, actually, that are in movies that have green eyes, they have to wear contacts when they're doing green screening. Yeah. All right, next question. The next question is, how are board members compensated? What if the startup doesn't have the financial power to pay them? Yeah. So a big misconception about boards is that they all make money, board members. They don't. In most startups, what happens is people that join boards do not get paid. Now, if a company is publicly traded, usually what happens is people that used to be CEOs and retired, they join these boards and they get paid like $100,000 per board to attend 4 board meetings per year. Or it's usually quarterly, yeah. But when it's a private company, you usually don't pay people. And what happens is this. So I have these props behind me. I'm teaching my students in my MBA degree program now about venture capital. So when you raise money, you start out with a seed round, and then eventually it's usually a high net worth person. And then the A round is from a venture capital firm. And then another year or so later, the B round, C round, et cetera, and then you go public. But every time you raise money, the people that give you the money, in return, as part of negotiations, they like to get a board seat. And they get a board seat because they have a fiduciary duty and a fiscal responsibility to report to their investors as well, how business is tracking. So they get a board seat. And make sure you're really careful with board seats, because getting the wrong board members is worse than a bad marriage. At least with a bad marriage, unfortunately, you can get a divorce, never see them again. But it doesn't work that way with board members usually. If they're a pain in the neck when they join, they're always going to be a pain in the neck. So you're interviewing them as well. Now, if you join a board, please be careful, okay? Because there's 3 types of boards. board membership, so to speak. There's a board member, okay? There's a board observer, and there's a board advisor. This one here, the board advisor is not, it's not a legal thing. There's usually no contracts. You're just kind of an advisor, but still people sometimes call it board anyway. Then there's board observer, which means you stay for a lot of the board meetings, but not the last 5 or 10 minutes or so when certain secret stuff are being discussed and they're voting on something. Then there's board member. Okay, if you're a member of the board, this one here, my thumb, if you're a board member, don't join a board ever as a board member unless you get what's called D&O insurance, which stands for Director and Officers Insurance. Really important. And the reason is because if something goes wrong at that company, you can get sued by investors or shareholders. However, and talk to a real lawyer first. I'm not a real lawyer. If you have D&O insurance, then the likelihood of you getting sued and losing everything you own and your family's stuff goes down materially. D&O insurance. And you don't pay for it. The company that asked you to join the board, they pay for all the legal fees for you getting D&O insurance. So anyway, I just be careful when you're joining boards. And again, if you're not sure, talk to a lawyer first. But if you want to join as a board advisor, that's a non-legal issue, and do that if you want to. And for more details on how to assemble a board and find the right board members, etc., and how to write a business plan, please check out my course called the Complete Business Plan Course. Okay. All right, next up is Manas. Hey, Manas, thank you very much for all the tweets and all that great stuff this week. Really do appreciate the support. Thanks, buddy. Manas is saying, hi, hope you're good. Likewise, thank you. I just wanted to thank you as the book is going quite well. Hope you are safe and sound. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. And for those of you not familiar with what Manas is talking about, Manas is writing a book. And I've written many books. And I challenge all of you, and I say with love in my heart, to write a book as well. And it's really easy to do, and it costs you nothing. And I'm going to show you how. All you have to do is know how to use Microsoft Word and a browser. So you can go to my website, harouneducation.com/all lowercase write book. Remember that, all lowercase write book. harouneducation.com/write book. You go here, and then what you can do is you can download a template right here. And this is just a Microsoft Word document that will tell you how to write a book. And it's actually, this is the framework I use, including the table of contents and everything. And then after you write the book, you just right-click here, Microsoft Word, and update the table of contents. Then you go to the first page here, and you send this to Amazon's Kindle, which is kdp.amazon.com. It's free for you to do, and they'll keep usually about half the revenue, sometimes more, depending on how you price it. Then you send it here to CreateSpace, which is the old name for Amazon's print-based book service. It gets URL forwarded somewhere else, but it is Amazon still. And this is for the print version. Costs you nothing to use it. They take about half the profits, usually. Then there's ACX, which is audible.com. And you'll be able to proofread your book while you're reading it for Audible. So you can make money on it that way as well. The only thing you might need to pay for, the only out-of-money-pocket stuff, is going to Fiverr.com and get somebody to make the cover of your book for $5. Yeah. But everybody should write a book. And I recommend telling your family and friends that you are writing a book, and set a deadline date as well. Because if you don't have a deadline date for goals, they're a dream and nothing more. And there's nothing more satisfying than holding in your hand your first book and dedicating it to mom and dad or your spouse or somebody important in your life that helped shape your character and helped you with your career, etc. And if you don't want to write a book, then think about this. Imagine going to an interview and giving somebody a book you wrote. That will impress the interviewer. Or imagine going to meet with a potential customer, and saying, oh, here's a book I wrote. That will impress them. Think about that, and that will convince you to write a book. Again, set a deadline date. Tell your friends and family when you're going to publish the book. Download my book template from the website I just showed you. And when you publish it, let me know here on this weekly webcast so I can buy it. You can't send it to me. I have to buy it always. so I can buy it and I can profile it here on the air. Now we're in the 96th week right now for our weekly webcast, and tons of my students on this weekly webcast have written tons of books, and I profile them here on the air as well. My first student that wrote one was named Philip Germany II, and he wrote a book called Super Students, which is kind of a prophetic name, given that he's one of my super students. But he wrote a book called Super Students on how to play chess and game theory, etc. Okay. And then Manas said, I started my first YouTube channel. I will reveal the name in number 97. Let it be a surprise as the channel is under development. Awesome. Awesome. Enjoy. And YouTube is the only gold rush in history that costs you nothing to make the product. And it's the only gold rush in history where you have immediate access to billions of potential customers for free. And I think this is the golden age of YouTube. And I think that many years from now, we're all going to look back and say, gosh, I wish I had published more stuff to YouTube because it's free. And it's the best way to market your business or your services or your products or yourself as well. And you can add a lot of value to the world. And the more value you add through YouTube videos, the more successful your channel will be. Remember, give and you'll receive. It's prophetic and been true since the beginning of time. And that's the essence of what YouTube is all about, giving, helping others. And it's fun too. Oh, I teach a course also called the Complete YouTube course with this amazing woman I met on my 10th weekly webcast. We're in week 96 now. And her name is Sasha Stevenson. So if you go to my website, harouneducation.com, you'll find my courses here. And you click through. And here it is. It's called the Complete YouTube Course. And she's got over 100 million views on her channel. She's a big star. I've never met her. I met her here in week number 10. She was giving me advice on my YouTube channel. And I said, hey, let's make a course together. And she's like, cool. And she's based in Indonesia. She's awesome. So check it out. As with all my courses, there is a 100% money back guarantee. This course is 18 or 19 hours long. It'll teach you everything you need to know about making a great YouTube video or channel. Everything, including how to make the thumbnail videos and much, much more. Yeah, it's fun too. Okay. All right, give me 1 second. I'm going to scroll down and do an audio and video check, see if there's any comments, and there's not. Okay, good. Good. I had Comcast come in, which is our TV and internet service provider here in Hillsborough where I live. And I got internet to be much faster, and here's how you do it. So if you get Comcast at home or internet access at home, wherever you're based in the world, your cable company, phone company, whatever, if you get the residential version, they advertise that it goes this fast up to a certain speed, and you never reach that speed. And the reason is because you share internet access with everybody in your neighborhood. However, if you get business internet, usually from the same company, it's the same speed. It might be slightly more expensive. It's the same speed they advertise, but you actually get closer to that speed because not many people in your neighborhood are running businesses from their house like I am. So I'll show you. And I was frustrated over the past 95 or 96 weeks doing this with the quality of the internet. And my kids would use the internet because they're at home because of COVID, of course. And it wasn't fair for them not to be able to use the internet when I'm streaming because, they do school that way. So I got Comcast. I'll show you how fast it is now. Let's go. How fast is my internet? Yeah. Don't use speed test, okay? It's not robust. You always want to go here, meaning this one here. Go to UCLA. I think that's how you pronounce it. And then you click go. And if you're going to stream from home, the download speed is not important. What's important is the upload speed. And so the download speed right now, it's not, I have a terabyte per second. It's a bit slower now because I'm hogging bandwidth doing what I'm doing right now, streaming. But what's more important actually is more so the upload. And so the upload speed, if you want to broadcast on YouTube at 1440 resolution, which is what I'm doing. If you have a high-end monitor, you can go to the little gears icon there in YouTube and click, pardon me, and view this in 1440, which is almost 4K. You can't stream yet on 4K on YouTube, but you need at least 12 megs to do the highest resolution, which today we're doing 14.4. So anyway, that's my internet speed, and I am a nerd. And I looked into fiber as well. I wish I lived in Kansas, which has awesome fiber everywhere because of Google Fiber. That's why there's a lot of great startups in Kansas now. But it's really expensive because I'd have to dig a trench by my road, and it's crazy expensive. So not yet. Okay. Okay, and then Manas wrote, "Thank you for your mentoring and all that. Thank you. God bless you way more." And I love all those little icons you put there. My favorite one of all the many icons you put is this one. God bless you. Yeah, and I don't worry in business about anything because God already knows what's going to happen, and that gives me peace of mind. And sometimes when something happens to you career-wise, which is a setback, I want you to change the lens by which you view the world. I want you to tell yourself that this is an opportunity for me. With crisis comes opportunity. And you might not understand it now, but many years from now, you'll look back on that crisis in your career and you'll be grateful to God it happens because it guides you down a different path. And with frustration comes breakthrough as well. It makes you move to open spaces and challenge yourself to really understand, what was the reason you were put on this earth? What's your passion? What's your purpose? What's your raison d'etre? And Mark Twain had this epic quote, which I think about often, which is this: the two most important days in your life are number one, the day you're born, and number two, the day you find out why. Keep searching for your why. You'll know it when you find it. It's like true love, when you find what you're truly passionate about in life. Because every day, you'll wake up and love life and love doing what you're doing. And as Confucius said, get an occupation you enjoy and you'll never have a job for the rest of your life. And I love Mark Twain quotes. Let me give you one more Mark Twain quote I've got over here. The secret of getting ahead is getting started. Start today. Start today. Start writing down your goals today and start working on the blueprint for your perfect life starting today. And if I can humbly help you make your goals become a reality, please let me know. And thank you as always. Okay, next one is Marin, who's saying, "Hey, Chris and team, hope you and yours are well. Likewise, thank you." And then you wrote, "Thank you for doing this all for us. My pleasure, my pleasure." Now, this is fun for me. I don't have a job. I have a passion. And then you wrote, "I have 3 questions. What courses of yours should one take to understand the stocks and shares trading market?" Yeah. So the best course I have for understanding the markets is my MBA degree program. It's several hundred hours long. You can find out more details by going to my website, but I'm going to give you the individual course as well. So you can go directly here to my my website to learn more about the MBA degree program. Okay, it's a 30-day, 100% money back guarantee. Other MBA schools don't do that. Plus, you'll learn more practical stuff that'll help you be successful, or your money back, Yeah. So go here to courses. And then when you're at courses here, just scroll down to, I have a course called the Complete Financial Analyst Training and Investing course. And this course here, basically it's, in this course, you join a pretend firm called Morgan Haroun Sachs. And I had a lot of fun making this trailer as well. And you rotate through the different divisions of Morgan Haroun Sachs. If Goldman Sachs or Morgan Stanley are watching, don't sue me. It's a pretend name, please. Yeah. But I had a lot of fun putting it together, and I actually flew to Prague to make the trailer. So what I'm going to do actually is I want to show you the trailer for this. It's a lot of fun, and I think you'll enjoy this. Let me get rid of my face though, so you can watch this. Hold on one second. Thanks. Welcome to MHS. Congratulations. MHS stands for Morgan Haroun Sachs, which is the world's #1 pretend finance company. Come with me. You will go through our Financial Analyst Training Program Bootcamp. Here you will learn a lot about finance and investing with no theory. You will rotate through the many divisions of our firm, and we will discuss how to excel in 14 different financial analyst roles. I will also help you understand which finance role you're most passionate about, and how to get hired and promoted in the industry. You will deal with the employees and clients of our firm in edutaining, meaning entertaining, and educational interactive case studies. including how an IPO works, how to manage risk, and how to manage a portfolio. You will create incredible investment research reports that will impress the heck out of anyone in the finance industry. This course is for anyone who wants to be a financial analyst or a better investor, stock picker, portfolio manager, and more. No prior experience is necessary. It includes a comprehensive Excel template to help guide you through our training program. In addition, I will teach you Excel skills so you can model financial statements and value companies from scratch. This course is based on my many years of experience. I'm an MBA graduate from Columbia University. I've gone through the Global New Hire Financial Analyst Training Program at Goldman Sachs in New York, London, and Tokyo. I've worked for top hedge funds, and I even started my own hedge fund and venture capital firms. This course is more than 22 hours long. This is the most thorough financial analyst and investing course available on the market. The student reviews have been amazing. Welcome to the Haroun Sachs training program. This will be a lot of fun. I'll see you in the morning. All right. Hopefully you enjoyed that. So we filmed that in Prague. My wonderful director and the Steven Spielberg of commercials is named Adad Warda, and he makes all of my trailers. The reason we do it in the Czech Republic is because the cost is awesome, and also there's beautiful scenery as well. A lot of beautiful bridges, and we had drones and rented there's a mini Eiffel Tower there and had a lot of fun with it. And actually, one of the drone shots that we did, the drone stopped working. And the reason it did, a lot of people don't realize this, is that when you buy a drone, what happens is the GPS software on the drone, if you come close to a government building, the drone stops working. The bird doesn't fall out of the sky. It just kind of stays there. It's like in Tel Aviv, you've got the Iron Dome protecting Israel. It's like a force field like that. It's pretty cool. We had a lot of fun with it, though. It was great. So that's the course I would recommend taking. There's a 30-day, 100% money-back guarantee as always. Or you can sign up for my MBA degree program, which goes into much more detail on stocks and every type of investing platform you can think of. Yeah. All right, next question is, can you please explain ETFs from a European perspective? ETF stands for Exchange Traded Funds, which basically means you can invest in indices or certain types of groups of stocks in an industry for a very, very low fee. The fee is very low because it's not actively managed by high-priced portfolio managers. And also you pay less taxes usually because these exchange-traded funds hold a collection of stocks for a long period of time. And if you own stocks and buy and sell them within 1 year, you pay higher taxes in most countries. Governments in most countries reward you for being a patient long-term investor. And your capital gains taxes are lower usually if you realize profits in greater than 1 year. Then you went on to say, can you talk about European ETFs? I'm looking into the funds platform, but most seem to be mutual fund platforms. What ETF platforms are available? Yeah, sure. Let's look at this together. This will be fun. Okay. So the best ETF companies are Schwab, in my humble opinion, as well as S&P has ETFs and Vanguard, which is the best. But let's go to finance.yahoo.com, and please don't ever pay for software for stocks. Okay, just go to Yahoo Finance; it's good enough. When I had my hedge fund years ago, I would pay thousands of dollars, like every month, for Bloomberg access for my team. And I realized you can get all this stuff for free anyway on Yahoo Finance. Plus, it's not cool to watch stocks go up and down all day. You can't will it. You can't use Jedi mind tricks to make stocks go up and down, etc. So not checking quotes a lot is smart. And Warren Buffett, whenever he invests in a company, he assumes that the market might be closed for 10 years. Obviously, it's not going to be closed for 10 years, but that's the mindset he has. So let's look at ETFs for Europeans. So I'm going to type in, first of all, ETF. Watch what happens. So you got a drop down here of a lot of different types of ETFs. So this here is called the SPDR S&P 500 ETF trust. And traders call it the spiders because it's called SPDR here, but the ticker is SPY. And so with this ETF, and I'll talk about Europe in a second, but with this ETF, you basically can buy every stock in the S&P 500, which basically represents the American economy. So let's go to holdings and check that out. So as we look at the S&P 500, we could see that the biggest component here is technology, and this keeps growing because tech companies become much more relevant in America. And industrials is only 8%. This used to be the biggest component for a long time, and that's why they call it the Dow Jones Industrial Index. It's kind of old school. And we can scroll down and see what stocks are in this ETF. So if I scroll down here, you can see that the biggest holding is Microsoft, 5.5%, then Apple, Amazon, Facebook, etc. And these are Google entities here. And then healthcare company Berkshire, which is Warren Buffett's great mutual fund, so to speak. Visa, which is based here in San Francisco, credit card company, obviously, JP Morgan, etc. So these are the stocks there. Now, I want to show you something about the expenses. This is important, okay? So the annual expense that you pay is only 0.09% to own this. It's a great deal. It's amazing. It's incredible. It's incredible. A lot of mutual funds, it's actually 3, 4, or 5%. Plus, you pay higher taxes because mutual funds turn over their portfolio quickly in many cases. And 90% of mutual funds underperform ETFs. I think mutual funds are a scam. Go to my YouTube page and do a search for mutual funds, and you'll see a long vlog that I did on mutual funds a while back and why they're a scam. Okay. And the turnover is only 3% per year, meaning buying and selling of stuff. And the reason there is a bit of a turnover here, and 3% is very low compared to mutual funds or hedge funds, which are really, really high. Hedge funds are sometimes well over 100%, which is brutal. You pay high taxes. It's awful. But the reason why there is a greater than 0% holdings turnover here is because sometimes the S&P 500 and Standard & Poor's manages which companies are in that 500 index. Sometimes Standard & Poor's will decide, hey, this company is more important than this company. So we'll take this company out and put this company in. Or they'll make the holdings a little bit bigger for a certain stock in that index of 500 stocks. And that's why there's a little bit of turnover. Back to your question on Europe. So you can get ETFs for any country as well. So I got to go there first for Canada because I'm Canadian. EWC is a Morgan Stanley Capital Index, MSCI, ETF for Canada, right? And so you can buy Canada. Please buy Canada. I'm Canadian. Blame Canada, as they say in South Park. Oh, I heard a lot about that in 1999 after the Academy Awards. People really teased me about that one, let me tell you. But you can look here to see what's in this. And Canada is a financial services and natural resource rich economy. And so the biggest component is banks here. You can scroll down and see you got the Royal Bank of Canada, Shopify, great tech company based in Ottawa. I love it. TD, etc. Pipeline, a bunch of commodity companies like Barrick, ticker ABX, etc. You can do it for any country. So you can do it for EWZ, which is for Brazil. I'm sure you can do European ones here, okay? And I don't know the tickers, so I'm going to wing this, okay? So watch this. ETF, let me type in Europe. Okay. All right, so you've got, this here is on London Stock Exchange, a world index. That's not the one I want. I want to look for individual countries. Let me try ETF France. ETF France. Anything come up? Okay, nope. Let's try ETF Germany. Okay, here we go. So there is an ETF for German stocks, mid-cap. So you can click here to find out what's in there. You won't get the large caps like Schneider Electric, which is like the General Electric of Germany, and you won't get SAP as well. You'll get the smaller ones. So you can go here to holdings and find out which companies those are here. Or what you can do, I can't find it here, is you can actually do a search for Leixor ETF German mid-cap index, and you can read the prospectus or offering documents on that. Let's find some more. ETF United Kingdom, maybe? Yeah, looks like there's one here. This is from HSBC, Hong Kong Bank. And you can find out here about this ETF. And you can go to historical data and holdings. I'm having trouble coming up with this, but I'm trying to think out loud here. That's the problem doing these live calls. ETF, there has to be them for Europe. So I can't find it here. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to search right now. I'm not going to leave you hanging. European ETF. And you want to make sure they're liquid as well. Okay. So ProShares International ETFs. Okay. State Street, you've got, okay, here we go. Good. All right. So State Street, which is a custodial service, a great financial services firm based in Boston, close to Fidelity and Putnam's headquarters. Looks like they've got one here. You've got here ETFdatabase.com, European equities. Let's go here, actually. Let's check it out here. Okay, so let's go here and check them out. Oh, here we go. We got lots. Great. Awesome. Okay, so you got Vanguard, European ETF. You got JP Morgan has one, iShares as well. Here's a German one here, EWG. Oh my gosh, I should have said that because EWC is Canada. Okay, so let's go check out EWG. Okay, and let's go here to finance.yahoo.com. EWG. Go. Okay, so this here is a German ETF by a very reputable company, iShares. Okay, and let's go to, first of all, volume. The volume is high, and you only want to invest in ETFs and stocks that trade a lot because illiquid stocks own you in a down market. Make sure you can get out of that stock or index within one day, if possible. But I want you to be a long-term investor. Let's go to the holdings. Let's see what's in this German ETF. Okay, let's look at the German economy here. It's interesting. All right, so the largest component is consumer cyclical, and then you've got technology. I'm sure the SAP is a very large percent of this, a great German software company based in Waldorf, Germany. I've been there many times. And let's look at the components. Lo and behold, the largest holding in this index is SAP. Which was founded by five executives that worked at IBM that wanted to start their own companies. So they started SAP. So it's 11% of that index. Then you got Siemens, which, as I mentioned before, is the General Electric of Germany. You've got some finance companies, telcos, healthcare, etc. Adidas, which stands for All Day I Dream About Stocks. Yeah. And a bunch of others, obviously Mercedes here, etc. Now let's look here at what the cost is to buy this ETF. All right, so the fee is less than 0.5%, still not bad. It's pretty good actually, and they turn it over 9% per year, which is a bit higher than the S&P, but it's low enough. So check this out. Check this out. This is one way to get access to Germany, great economy. And other ways to get access to Europe, just you can scroll down on that website. ETF, let's go forward here. Hold on a second. ETFs for Europe. Here it is here. Yeah. So you can, if you want to invest in all of Europe, and this is sorted by assets. Okay, so these are very, very liquid. If you want to invest in all of Europe, you can buy Vanguard, which is a great company. You can buy Vanguard's ticker VGK. I'll remember that. Let's go over here. VGK. Okay. So this one is very liquid as well. The average volume is that. She'll have no problem selling it if need be. Let's look at the holdings in this index. Okay. So the biggest holding is Nestle, then Roche, Novartis, a lot of great healthcare companies. I hope they find a cure quickly for COVID. I pray daily. SAP in Germany, etc. A lot of great companies, LVMH, etc., Glaxo. And let's look at the price as well here. Very important, the profile, the fee. Very low. Wow, dude, that's amazing. So you can buy all of Europe or a basket of many different European stocks, and the annual fee is only 0.08%. It's amazing. It's amazing. So hopefully that answers your question. If you have additional questions, please let me know, and thank you as always. All right. The next question is, what would be your tips for making a good Fiverr profile in graphic design? How can I provide my customers more when I create my profile? And then you wrote, thank you and enjoy your day. Likewise. So for those of you not familiar with Fiverr.com, it's a great company based out of Tel Aviv where you can outsource stuff to for starting at $5. And I've used them a lot. I've used them a ton actually. And let's go there together and I'll show you a little bit more about Fiverr. All right, so let's go to Fiverr. It's got 2 R's. I wonder why there's 2 R's. Okay, and you can get anything you want done here. So I've actually gotten a lot of my logos done here for $5. And let me show you some of my orders. And then what we'll do is we'll talk about creating a great profile there in a second. Okay, so if we go down here, I will make your business logo. I paid, actually paid up, I paid $5 for this one. This one I tipped the person a bunch because they did a great job. And please tip them often. So let's go to this one here. I paid $5 for this one. And let's take a look to see what this was. This here was Shark Virtual Reality. Oh yeah, that's right. I started a fake company called Shark Virtual Reality in some of my courses. And so this person gave me 5 different options for my logo. And I didn't choose that one. I'll show you the one I ended up choosing for $5. Great deal, man. Great deal. Yeah, this is the one I chose here, right here. Shark Virtual Reality, which is founded by Tony Shark. For $5. It's amazing. It's amazing. So I've had a lot of stuff done here. I have all the covers of my books made here as well. And if they do a great job, if you work with them a lot, you want to tip them well. Yeah. So in terms of what kind of profile to have, so I think the most important thing when thinking about your profile is a company is only as good as its customer service. And that's why I think Amazon is a great company, for example. And so you want to build up your track record first by going above and beyond and adding much more value than your customers ask, which is what I humbly try to do with all of my courses. And then what will happen is your success on this platform will be driven by ratings. And so if you have a 4.5 out of 5-star rating and many ratings, you'll get a lot more work. But in terms of the actual image that you have, let me do a search here on, I don't know, graphics design. Graphics design. Okay. Yeah. And so the rating is important, but I don't just hire people that have a handful of ratings. I like to hire people that have a ton of ratings, like this person here. This person here, hold on a second, up here, Alina Serve, has over 1,000 reviews that are 5-star. That's unbelievable. Okay. Starting at $15. Remember, things usually start at $5 here, but in this person's case, in her case, it's $15. So what I would do is I would make sure that you have at least a couple images here of the work you've done in the past. Okay. And make sure that you cast your net as wide as you can. And this person has certainly done so. This person covers wonderful social movements like this one here. Also international, Greece. Let's see what else here. Flyers, and then edgy graphics as well. So this person, and on different platforms, I guess iPads in this case. So Alina has cast her net very, very wide from a total addressable market perspective, which is very smart. And she's included a lot of design she's also done as well, which is why she has a great rating. And also from an SEO or search engine optimization perspective, she's cast her net wide by putting in the word graphics, postcard, posters, flyers, etc. And I searched for graphic design up here, and that's why this came up. So you got to make sure that in your title, you have all the relevant keywords that people might search for. You have to make sure you have impeccable customer service, meaning great ratings. And also you need to profile your work here on multiple pages, if possible. And if you have additional questions about that, please let me know. But I'm a huge fan of using Fiverr. I think it's fantastic. Yeah, and make sure to tip whoever you use a lot if they do a great job, because for a lot of people, this is their full-time gig. Thank you. All right. Next question is, which podcast do you listen to? So for me, my favorite podcast has always been TWIT, TWIT, which stands for This Week in Tech. And there's a brilliant man that lives pretty close to where I live named Leo Laporte. And every Sunday, he'll record TWIT. And I'll listen to it usually on Mondays when it gets published. It's recorded live on Sunday and then published to podcast a day later. And I started listening to podcasts in July of 2005 when Apple first released them. And I started out listening to summaries of newspapers. So when I would drive into work to the hedge funds I worked at here in San Francisco, early in the morning, I'd listen to a 5-minute briefing or summary podcast of the Wall Street Journal technology articles, which was great. And I love listening to This Week in Tech, though, because Leo Laporte, and I've never met him, I'd love to one day, but he has amazing guest stars on that are fantastic at communicating like Warren Buffett. They communicate like Warren Buffett about tech products in a fun way. And you all know whenever you see Warren Buffett interviewed, you're never confused after that interview because he's a master of communication and he's a great storyteller. The same thing holds true with Leo Laporte on This Week in Tech. So check it out. It's a wonderful podcast. Wonderful podcast. And I listen to Gary Vaynerchuk as well occasionally. He is the quintessential social media rock star. And I learn a lot from him, and he inspires me too. Okay. Next question is regarding stock options. Do the employees usually pay for them? Not directly. So the way that stock options work are they're given out to employees. And you usually can't cash them in right away. You have to wait 4 years. And so if you're given stock options every year, then you can only cash in ones you received 4 years ago. And so it's kind of like a waterfall type compensation structure. And it's kind of, I like to refer to it as golden handcuffs because it makes you not want to leave the company. You know, you've got a vested interest in staying there because if you leave today, you lose a lot of money with respect to options you'll get, every 4 years or so. And the way that it works in general is with options. I was looking at the wrong camera there. Sorry, still learning how to do this. I've got pedals. Sorry. Week 96, I'm still making mistakes. But the way it works usually with options is they're given to you out of the money, meaning you can't cash them in today. And I'll explain what this means. So let's say that the stock in the company you work at is at $5 right now. Well, what your company will do is they will create options for you. It's a non-cash based transaction. And they'll give it to you. But you can't cash in those options for 4 years, and you can't use them unless the stock is over $10. So that $10 is called the strike price in this example. So the stock right now is $5, but you cannot cash in these shares for 4 years, and you can only do it if the price is above $10, which is the strike price. That's how it works. That's how it works. And Warren Buffett loves stock options, and so do I, because it means that your employees have a vested interest in the company from remuneration or salary or compensation perspective. Yeah. Okay. Next question is, if the company is private when it comes to stock options and you want to sell, how is it done? Yeah. It's very difficult to sell shares that are private. And quite often, you have to get approval from the board of that company. And this is referred to as a ROFR, R-O-F-R. And a ROFR stands for right of first refusal. And what this means is the board has to approve whether or not you are allowed to sell your shares and who you're selling it to. Because they don't want certain investors to be included. Maybe they want strategic investors included, meaning people that will help the company grow. And usually a lot of shareholders in private companies are venture capital firms and other investors that will help that company grow. That's one of the reasons they were invited to the table and were given permission, so to speak, to invest in that company. And another way to sell your shares, if you work at a private company, is there are online markets like secondmarket.com where you might be able to sell. But I would read the fine print because a lot of times, first of all, you have to get permission a lot of times from your company from a ROFR, R-O-F-R perspective. But a lot of times you don't get the best pricing. And so stocks that are publicly traded, obviously, that trade a lot, the difference between the bid and the ask spread is very, very narrow. Now, when a stock doesn't trade very much, the difference between the bid and the ask is very wide. Meaning if you want to buy it, you buy here. If you want to sell it, you sell down here. And so with transactions that are illiquid, meaning like options in private companies, or you're not going to get the best fill, so to speak. But I would do a search on Second Market online to see how they do it. And I would talk to human resources at your company or your boss or your colleagues to see if you can sell those shares or not. Yeah. Okay. The next question is from Hizzy, who's saying, hey, Chris, hey, how are you? I wanted to ask you for clarification over the following term: asset manager and investment manager. And is BlackRock classified as a hedge fund? Yeah. Yeah. So an asset manager and an investment manager, it's kind of the same thing. So the way it works is, and I've got props down here. So on the left, on a balance sheet, those are assets. Might be tough to see. I apologize for the lighting. Let me brighten it up a touch here. Hold on. There we go. Yeah. So on that shelf there where you see the car, that's basically how a balance sheet works. On the left side, you got assets. Now, your assets can be a car or your house. And on the right side, you've got liabilities and equities. So on a balance sheet, assets equals liabilities plus equities. And so assets in the context from an accounting perspective means stuff you have, regardless of who owns them, stuff you have, like a car or a house, which is partially owned by you and or the bank, for example. Those are assets. Asset means something you have in your possession. So an asset manager is somebody that manages those assets. But when you hear the term asset manager and investment manager, it basically means somebody that manages assets like cash or stocks or bonds or commodities in a diversified portfolio. So an asset manager tries to diversify your holdings so you don't have all your eggs in one basket. And they also try to generate a positive return, obviously. Now, in terms of your other question on BlackRock, so is BlackRock a hedge fund? No, it's not. It's not. It's an asset manager. And I think they might have $4 trillion in assets. And whenever you hear of a very large number in assets, it means that they have a lot of bonds as well. Okay, or AAA rated government securities. So let's do a search here on BlackRock, or just go to their website, blackrock.com, and let's check it out together. Yeah. So they have funds. Okay, they have tons of funds. They have educational savings programs as well, which is another way to save tax-free, kind of like a 401k, which is American talk for how to save money for retirement. Yeah. And speaking of 401k, let me do something here. Hold on one second. I want to show you and teach you about 401ks really, really quickly. All right. And I had this here because I was teaching my MBA degree students about 401ks versus Roth IRAs. And so I had a couple of props. Okay. So, and let's switch over to this camera here. So a 401k, it was created, and this is Michael from the office. In 1978, Congress created the 401k, which means a retirement savings program. And what that means is you can put in a certain amount of money every year, and you're only taxed when you take the money out. And the current limit in America is close to $20,000. You can invest every single year, okay? And it's insured by the government as well here in America. So in America, it's called a 401k, and you only get taxed once you take all the money out that grows tax-free forever, for many years. And let me talk just really quickly about a Roth IRA, because I get this question a lot. A Roth IRA is different. It was founded in 1998, and basically it means you get taxed when you put money into your retirement savings accounts. And currently you can only do, I think it's $6,000 per year, a lot less than you can with a 401k. And you have to make less than a certain amount of money to be able to use a Roth IRA. You get taxed when you put the money in to a Roth IRA. Why would you do that? Well, you might do that if you think the tax rate is going to be insanely high in the future. So you get taxed once on it and never again. So it grows tax-free. But only up to $1 million of a Roth IRA is insured, unlike a 401k. Okay, let me get back to your question now here, which was about BlackRock. But I saw 401k there and educational savings programs. I had to go there because I'm sure somebody had that question. All right, so they have a ton of different funds. Okay, they're a massive asset manager, and I think they have over $4 trillion in assets. So here's some of their mini funds, and they also make ETFs, which is awesome because you actually pay very, very low fees on ETFs, which are much better investments than mutual funds, which are a scam because 90% of mutual funds underperform ETFs anyway, and the fees are way higher on mutual funds. Yeah. Okay, so I think mutual funds are in secular decline. So you can buy a certain number of different types of ETFs here. So this here is in stocks that grow quickly, called the Russell Index. This here is in Europe. This is the EFA index for stocks. This here is United States bonds, meaning government paper that's printed, meaning loans from the U.S. government, which is usually AAA rated if it's federal. And this here is if you want to invest in 500 stocks that represent the broader U.S. markets, meaning the S&P 500. So no, this is not classified as a hedge fund. This is an asset manager or investment manager. Same thing. They do a lot here, a lot. This company is massive. Yeah, I think they have over $4 trillion in assets, and they own the brand iShares as well, which is a great ETF brand as well. If you want to buy exchange traded funds, my favorite ETF company though is Vanguard. I'm not compensated ever by mentioning any company, but I think Vanguard's got the best ETFs out there and the lowest prices too. If you have additional questions about ETFs or taxes or anything else, please let me know. Thank you. Okay. Next question is, if possible, how did you improve your quantitative knowledge required for finance? For example, statistics and understanding data plus specific financial terminology. Yeah. So what I actually did, let me back up first and tell you one of my biggest failures. So when I went to McGill University last century, I'm that old, and I got a D in accounting. And I got a D in accounting because I wasn't understanding accounting. I was memorizing it. And if you memorize accounting or anything, you'll never understand it. And you can do well in high school by memorizing stuff. But once you get to university in the real world, you have to understand stuff instead of memorizing it. And so, my success from an accounting and finance perspective starts with my failure. One of my biggest failures was not understanding accounting and memorizing it. And I have this great quote from Michael Jordan here, which is, I failed over and over and over again in my career, and that's why I succeed. And so what I did was I retook accounting. It was painful, but I retook it. And I did better, not much better than a D the next time, because I understood it. And so when you're learning finance and accounting, I want you to try to understand stuff. And if you understand it, you'll enjoy it. And I teach accounting and finance in such a way that I teach you how to read financial statements like a good book. I condition you to enjoy it. And so whenever you see a formula like profit margins or return on equity or return on assets, I want you to understand what that means and not memorize it. So let's start with return on equity. For example, whenever you hear the word return on something, all that means is net income divided by something. So if I said return on mousepad, that would mean net income divided by mousepad. So return on equity means net income divided by equity. And let's think of this formula. And whenever you hear of formulas for the rest of your life, right, fractions, I always want you to think of the denominator as being the number 1, okay? So return on equity means this, net income over equity. Equity means ownership, which means this. For every $1 of stuff I own, meaning equity, how many pennies of profit am I making? So if my return on equity is 35%, that means for every $1 in stuff I own, equity, I'm making 35 pennies. If my return on assets is 72%, that means for every $1 in assets I have, I'm making 72 pennies. That's a 72% return on assets. That's how I want you to think about it. The same thing with profit margins. Profit margins means net income divided by sales. So for every $1 in sales I have, how many pennies of net income am I generating? If it's 57%, which is insanely high, That means for every $1 in sales, stuff I sell, I'm making 57 pennies. That's how I want you to think about it. And if you want to take it to your game to the next level, then start rearranging formulas like return on equity. There's something called the DuPont model, which basically takes return on equity and breaks it up into 3 different fractions, which is a lot of fun from a math perspective. You can do a search on that online, or we can talk about return on equity in more details if you want to. Now, one more thing I want to talk about when it comes to accounting is how to think of a balance sheet. So let me get some props down here. All right. And this is how I teach it to my MBA degree students. We have a lot of fun. Okay. Like, I remember when I was a kid, there was show and tell. You remember that? Do you remember what your teacher taught you in the 3rd grade? No. Do you remember what people brought in for show and tell? Yes. That's why I love teaching with props. Plus, it's more fun, dude. Okay. So let me teach you about this. Let me raise this a bit as well. Okay, great. Let me pull these back closer to me so they are more in focus. I'm going to teach you a balance sheet from scratch now. This will be fun. All right. So this here, a balance sheet, and they call it a balance sheet because the left side has to balance and equal the right side. And I usually do this with a real scale. My scale's in storage now. All right, so let's go here to stuff I have. Okay, right here. Okay, let me rearrange this first. Okay. Stuff I have and who owns my stuff. Okay, let me get Michael from the office here. World's #1 boss. That's what it says on his mug. All right. And over here is who owns my stuff. Okay, and I'll pull this back slightly so it's more in focus. I used a very low f-stop today. Okay. All right, great. So a balance sheet basically tells you who owns your stuff. Okay. So right here is stuff I have. See right here? And right here is, and I burn this in with one of those burn pens, and I actually electrocuted myself as well. Okay. And if you're going to burn stuff in, make sure you have one of these things close by. And get this at your house, please. Don't get like a big fire extinguisher because your kids won't be able to lift it up if they're panicking. Plus, it's easier to do this because kids play Fortnite than it is to do this, which is massive. You know? So anyway, a little off topic, but I did start a fire when I was making these props here. Learn from my many failures, folks. Okay, so here's how it works. So right here, this is stuff I have. Okay, I have a house and I have a car. And this here is who owns my stuff. This is me, okay? So who owns my house and my car? Well, my house and my car are owned by a bank and by me. For example, this house here, let's just say it costs $100,000. And I put down $20,000 and I got a loan for $80,000. This $100,000 house is owned by me, 20% is me, 20K, and a bank, $80,000 mortgage. So it balances, okay? Same thing with my car. My car, let's say, is $10,000. This is a beautiful Tucker replica. So my car costs, let's say, 10K. And let's say I own 5,000 of it, and the bank of Toyota owns the other half. So a $10,000 car equals, okay, $5,000 I own, plus the $5,000 the bank of Toyota owns. Okay, so what this stuff is here, the stuff I have, this is referred to as assets. Okay, and assets equals liabilities plus equity. Okay, and equity means stuff I own. I have equity in my house, right? Equity means ownership. So this is equity, and this here is liabilities. I'm liable to pay this back. So liability means debt, hence piggy bank. This is the bank. Liabilities means debt, and equity means ownership. So everything you have, meaning your assets, are either owned by you, that's equity, or somebody that gave you a loan. And so assets always equals liabilities plus equity. And we could rearrange this as well. So if assets equals liabilities plus equity, then what does equity equal? Again, if assets equals liabilities plus equity, what does equity equal? Well, let's rearrange the formula. Equity equals assets minus liabilities, okay? And let me just get rid of these here. So equity equals assets minus liabilities. And that makes sense, right? Equity means your net worth. I have equity in something. So what is my net worth or my equity? Same thing. Well, it's basically what I have minus who I owe money to. So assets minus liabilities equals equity. This is what I want you to do when it comes to finance and accounting. I want you to go through this exercise yourself and think about objects if you want to as well. But I want you to rearrange formulas always. It's the only way you're going to learn this stuff and enjoy it too. And this is fun, man. I'm having fun. So I want you to rearrange formulas when it comes to finance and accounting and enjoy the process as well. And if you condition yourself to enjoy the process, you'll be good at it. It's kind of like, this is going to be a weird analogy, but it's kind of like if a piece of chocolate cake. If you condition yourself not to enjoy it, then you won't eat that cake, because if you eat it, it gives you this much pleasure and this much pain. So that's how I tend to think about things. And I convince myself to enjoy this as well, because I do. It's fun. It's fun thinking about things with props as well. And that's the crux of what I have behind me here. This week in my MBA degree class, MBA degree program, I'm teaching about venture capital, seed investing, the A, B, C round, and then eventually the IPO, which is that tree there. Yeah. So when you think about finance and accounting in general, just make sure you think about it from this perspective here I just showed you, meaning different objects, so you can actually enjoy learning, because learning is fun if it's taught the right way. All right, let me put this back here. And the best way to learn something is to teach. Kind of like when you were younger, and when you were younger and you had that buddy of yours that needed help with a math test or whatever it is. When you helped out your buddy, you're kind of teaching yourself, and you did better on the test because of that. And when one teaches, two learn. Okay. All right. Next up, the question is, hey, Chili's, I want to go into business, and currently I'm in high school. Should I graduate in computer science, as that's a good skill, or just graduate in business? I would do what makes you happy. Like, do what you enjoy most. I don't think you should chase money, but just chase your dreams. If your dream is to work at a big tech company and you enjoy programming, then you can learn programming online. Go to Udemy's website, udemy.com, and take courses by Angela Yu or Rob Percival. You can learn them online. Or you can take my courses and learn about business. And while you take our courses, just decide what you enjoy most. And whatever you enjoy most is the career you should look into doing full time. Make sure you're happy doing it. And never do anything because of trying to please other people, if you know what I mean. Just do what you're happy doing, and you'll never have a job for the rest of your life. Next question is, hi, Chris. What is your opinion on the CFA course for a person who wants to enter into the hedge fund or any money management industry, and how does it compare to an actual MBA? That's a great question, yeah. So for those of you not familiar, CFA stands for Certified Financial Analyst designation. Basically, the way it works is you have 3 years to complete the CFA, and you write one exam each year, and you study at nights or early in the morning, whatever. And the exam usually right on a Saturday. So when I CFA level 1, I wrote it in New Jersey, and Goldman Sachs paid for it when I worked there, which was awesome. But I never finished it off because I didn't find it was going to help my career. I already got my foot in the door. But what I would say is, if you want to get into finance, I would focus on networking a lot. And you can always go to my website and download my networking book. I think it'll help you more so than the CFA will, to be honest. although I respect the CFA a lot. So scroll down here, get my networking book. It's free, and I promise you it'll help you get into the finance industry or any industry you want to get into, because relationships are more important than product knowledge. Yeah. Your net worth is your network. So I would look into that. But if you want to learn a lot more about finance and you're having trouble networking, getting your way onto Wall Street or whatever finance center you want to work in the world, Canary Wharf in England, etc., then I think a CFA is probably better than an MBA. Because the CFA is you go really into depth on options, bonds, ethics, stocks, etc. And CFA level 1 is basically the finance stuff you learn at business school. But levels 2 and 3 go much, much deeper. So hopefully that sums it up. And it is very respected, the designation, more so than an MBA. Yeah. But I think your chance of getting into a hedge fund or an investment bank, et cetera, a lot of it comes down to your ability to network. Yeah. Because your network is your net worth. Okay. And Valenz, hey Valenz, how are you? It's been a while. So Valenz is one of my wonderful MBA degree program students in my platinum program. And Valenz is originally from Indonesia, but lives in New Zealand. I hope you're doing well. And your wonderful prime minister has done a fantastic job with COVID. I can't remember her name. She's 39 though, right? She's very charismatic, and I've seen her interviewed a lot on television. She's great. Okay, and then Valenz is saying, hi Chris, long time no chat. Hope you have been well and everything's great with you. Likewise. Lots of love, and God bless you and your family. Hope you're doing well. Your family in New Zealand and Indonesia. Hope you're all doing well. Thanks. Hey Mohammed. Mohammed is saying, I want to thank you a lot. The complete job and interview course helped me a lot at my last interview. And it's helped me a lot. Yeah. And then you wrote, are you going to launch another course for trainers? Thank you again. And then you wrote here, TOT program for trainers. Please let me know what TOT means. Yeah, thank you for the compliment. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. But let me know what TOT means, because I want to humbly help if I can. Thank you. And Juan David is one of my incredible students. Okay, this guy, he's 17 years old, and he's already given 2 TEDx talks. He was born in Venezuela, came from a difficult background, and he and his mother immigrated to Chicago when he was a kid. And he wrote about it in his best-selling book, which the Chicago Tribune wrote a foreword for, and so did I. His book is called Generation Optimism. And I look up to you, man, because Juan David has such a positive attitude. I have his book here too. He has such a positive attitude that it really rubs off on me too. So Juan David is saying, hi, Chris. How have you been? I've been amazing. Thank you. I'm always great. Thanks. And then you wrote here, thank you. You wrote, everyone here, take Chris's courses. They will change your life. Thank you. And I appreciate that. Thanks, dude. Thank you. And next up, we've got Shuvik is saying, what's the difference between investing in stocks individually versus registering a company and investing through it? Yeah. So you're talking about setting up an investment firm. Yeah. So if you want to set up your own investment management firm, it's expensive. You got to register the company name, obviously. And then you have to create a lot of legal documents, not you, but a lawyer. Please talk to a lawyer first. And so when I set up my hedge fund years ago, I had to hire a lawyer. It cost $30,000 to set up my onshore vehicle and my offshore vehicle. And the law firm I used, the guy's name was James Grand from the Securities Law Group here in San Francisco. Great guy. He did a great job. But he set up my onshore and my offshore investment vehicle into what's called a master feeder. These 2 vehicles, my onshore and offshore vehicle, fed into the master company, which was my umbrella company that owned it. And I set up an offshore bank in the British Virgin Islands as well for my offshore investors because they don't want to pay U.S. taxes. And by the way, you never give tax advice to any of your investors. In addition to all of those documents that were created to register my companies in California, as well as in the British Virgin Islands, I also had to have subscription documents created, which basically is a long survey that will determine whether or not investors can invest in my hedge fund based on different government mandates, including their liquid net worth. Then you have to have AML documentation, meaning anti-money laundering documentation as well, and much, much more. And you have to get certified and write exams offered by FINRA, which is a government agency here in America. There's a lot to it. There's a heck of a lot to it. And so if you want to manage money from an institutional investment perspective, you have to talk to a lawyer. There's a lot of legal stuff you have to go through, including offering an investment memorandum. And never raise money from anybody, please, without getting a lawyer to first write an offering memorandum for you. And similarly, never invest in anything unless you read the offering memorandum first. You have that right. And if you can't get access to it, don't invest. Next question is Ramon. Ramon is saying, good morning, Chris. It's been busy for the past few weeks, but I'm getting back to your complete MBA course. Thank you. Appreciate it. Hopefully I can come up with enough funds soon to enroll in your MBA degree. No, thank you. I appreciate that. And we do have a scholarship program as well. And if you're interested in getting a scholarship to any of my MBA degree programs, what I want you to do, and I give away a lot of them, I want you to send an email to admissions@harounventures.com. Again, that's admissions at harounventures.com. And let me just show you the MBA program here in case you're curious what I'm talking about. So if you go to my website, Haroun Education or harounventures.com, you'll see up here there's an MBA degree program. And click here, and there's FAQs, student testimonials from students all over the world in my program. Then you can click here on pricing and FAQs. Yeah. And you can read through all these FAQs if you want to. So the difference between the three programs is as follows. So there's a silver program, which is over 300 hours of lessons, and you can start right today for $499. And there's a 30-day 100% money back guarantee. And you can just do a mouse over here to learn more about the program. And all you need is a cell phone to take it, or a desktop computer, or a laptop, or a tablet. Then there's something called the gold version of the MBA degree program, which is the same thing as the silver one, but it's $999. And you get over 200 hours of live Q&A with me and your classmates, kind of like what we're doing right now. And this one here, you have to apply for. And this starts every December. Okay, so right now, my current MBA students in my Platinum program, they started December of 2019, and they graduate this December 2020. So the next class starts in December of 2020, and you can just mouse over here to see all the dates for the admission deadlines and all that stuff. The earlier you apply, the better chance you have of getting in. If you want a scholarship, please email admissions@harounventures.com. Then you've got what's called a Platinum program, which is what actually all of my current students are in my MBA degree program, all 158 of my students. It used to be 160, but 2 of them wanted their money back within the first 30 days, which of course we gave their money back. And so this here is a one-time fee of $14.99. And it's the same thing as the gold program, okay, meaning over 300 hours of lessons plus over 200 hours of live Q&A, meaning over 500 hours all in. Plus, you get several hours of one-on-one meetings with me, either in person or over Zoom. Okay, and for details on the acceptance, the dates, etc., just mouse over here. And if you take silver, yes, you can still, if you wanted to then take gold or platinum, you'll get a discount of $499, even if you paid less than $499 for it. Yeah. So check it out. If you have questions, read through all the FAQs here. Okay. And then if you're curious about the program, just click enroll today and just, you can look into it here, see the trailer of the program, make this a little bit bigger. You can scroll down to see testimonials and very, very long FAQ here, questions people have. And if I don't answer questions in the FAQs here, just email admissions@harounventures.com, my bio, and then just a bunch of classes here and examples of what the classes look like. And it's endless. It goes on forever. Yeah. So thank you for your interest. I appreciate it. All right. My stomach is grumbling, which means I'm hungry. And I put some in my daily shake with my Ninja Bullet blender. I put in some acai today, which is a wonderful South American fruit that's purple. So it's great. Yeah. This has every antioxidant I could possibly find. All right. Okay. Next up is Mohadeep is asking, my wife and I would like to enter the world of small business and educational online courses. She is an English teacher and I'm a Hispanic teacher. What do you suggest regarding platforms to start? Yeah, that's a great question. So I recommend, I've been teaching online full-time for a couple of years now, and I've made so many mistakes, like a ridiculous number of mistakes. And as Michael Jordan said, I've failed over and over and over again, and that's why I succeed. I failed a lot. And what I want to do is I want you to learn from my failures. And so I published 2 courses on udemy.com, 2 free courses on how to teach online. And one of them is called 40 Tips on How to Make an Online Course based on 40 mistakes I've made. And the other course is called Another 40 Tips on How to Make a Great Online Course. And so what you can do is just go search for Udemy, Chris Haroun, my name. And then once you find it, let's go here, Udemy right here. All right. And when you go to my profile page, what I want you to do is just scroll through until you find those courses. Let's just go here. So here's the second course. It's called Another Tip on How to Make a Great Online Course. And this is over 4 hours long and teaches you everything you need to know about building a great online course based on mistakes that I've made, meaning equipment, everything you need to know. And you can do it with a very low budget as well, of course. And another one of mine here, so that's the second one. The first one was called 40 Tips on Making a Great Online Course. And I've done it in tons of different languages as well, because I humbly believe that education can solve every problem in the world. So this is the other one here. The first one I did, this one's like an hour and a half. It's a free tutorial on how to make an online course. So I would check out those 2. In terms of what platform to use, just use Udemy and Udemy only. Because what happens in technology is usually one company dominates, and then there's just a couple others that are less relevant. So if you think about it, when you search the internet, you don't Bing the internet unless you work at Microsoft. Sorry. You Google, right? So in ed tech, Udemy is Google and everybody else is Bing. And Albos wrote, thanks a lot, Chris. You're most welcome. You're most welcome. Thank you. Okay. Next question is Ankit, who's saying, hey, Chris, if a company is profitable by bootstrapping, and by the way, bootstrapping means starting a company yourself and not really raising money, just using your own money and, by the strap of your boots, paying for everything yourself. Yeah. So if a company is profitable by bootstrapping, do you suggest that they take funding? The only issue is growth is very slow when you're bootstrapping. Yeah, that makes sense. So when you're starting a company, if you don't raise money from others, you won't be able to obviously grow as quickly. Yeah. So if you want to raise money, it all comes down to your ability to network. And so what I recommend you do is go to my website, harounventures.com. Okay. Let me go there. harounventures.com. Scroll down and download this free book on how to network. This will help you a lot in terms of finding people to invest in your company. It's free. It's a couple hundred pages plus several hours of YouTube videos. I've raised and managed over $1 billion in my career. And a lot of my greatest hits, or my failures, whatever I should say, are based on what I wrote in that free book. Okay. Now, when it comes to investment rounds, and I have this behind me because this is for my MBA degree students this week. I'm teaching about venture capital. When you first raise money, you're going to raise money from a wealthy dude. That's called a seed round right here. Okay, and that's supposed to be seeds in a pot there. Yeah, there we go. And that's all based on your ability to network and connect with people, based on what you'll read in that book of mine, which is free on how to network. Then a year or two later, if you want to scale your business, you'll raise a lot of institutional money from venture capital firms in what's called the A round. Then a year or two later, the B round, then the C round. And then eventually what happens is you IPO over here and the tree is big. Yeah. So I think the only way to really scale your business is to raise money from high net worth individuals initially, and then venture capital firms. And don't ever, ever, ever get a loan, please. Don't take money from that bank, ever. Just get it from high net worth individuals or venture capital firms, because banks are chicken. And if you miss one payment or you pay back a loan slightly late, they can take everything. A little side note, you got to register your company. Please register your company. Talk to a lawyer, not to me, so you can protect your family and your assets as well. Mercy is saying, good morning, Chris. Lovely Thursday morning. Mercy has the best attitude ever. She's in my MBA degree program. She's awesome. She is a yoga expert. She has a wonderful partnership with Lululemon, which is a great Canadian company, for her yoga studio. She's built a great business online now with Zoom. And offering yoga with Zoom. So she's great. She's great. And, this whole Corona thing has been terrible for a lot of us. But when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. And so with Mercy, it's tough to have her studio running full time now because of COVID. And so what she's done is she's reinvented herself. And she actually teaches yoga successfully online using Zoom. She's great. And she's from Victoria, in the great province of British Columbia, BC, on the west coast in Canada. My mom was born in Vancouver. My whole family's from Vancouver on my mom's side. My dad's side is from Egypt. My dad immigrated from Egypt in 1967. Always great to have you, Mercy. Thank you. And Albus wrote here, how much % stake should we give away to a venture capitalist and angel investors, given that we have bootstrapping and patient capital sources? Yeah, it all depends. It all depends how much they're going to buy of your firm. Usually early on, make sure the valuation is low for your company. Otherwise, you won't be able to raise more money. So for example, and I have these props for my MBA degree program students. We're learning about VC this week. So when you raise money initially from a high net worth investor in what's called a seed round, hopefully you can read that, keep the valuation low, like maybe $500,000, depending on your business. And if somebody gives you $50K, then $50K divided by 500,000 means they own 10%. So if they own 10%, you own 90%. And every time you raise money from venture capital firms in the A, B, C round, et cetera, you're giving away more of your company. So by the time the company goes public, you'll usually own less than 20% of the company, but you'll be worth a lot more because the value of the company will be much, much more as well. Yeah. And for more details on that, sign up for my MBA degree program or take my complete financial analyst course on Udemy. Thank you. Okay. Bill is saying, Geya Su Chris, I'm sending you greetings from Crete, Greece. Excellent. Thank you. Great to have you. And my wife is half Greek. And her family grew up actually in Israel. And what happened was with my wife's family, and their maiden name is Triandafilides, which is 30 flowers in Greek. And it used to be the password for my American Express card when there's an issue and the customer service agent would say, what's your special code word? And I said Triandafilides. And they said, spell that. And I was like, oh my God. So I couldn't use my Amex for ages. That's not our passcode anymore. But what happened was Christine, her side of the family, they actually grew up in Santorini years back. And then there was that awful volcano eruption long time ago. And a lot of her family unfortunately passed away. But the ones that didn't, or that left Santorini, then they got in a boat and they ended up in northern Israel, right by Haifa. And if anybody's watching in northern Israel, there's a great Greek restaurant called Abu Christo, which means son of Cristo. And so that's Christine's family restaurant. Yeah. And I know a couple of Greek words as well. When Christine used to dress the kids growing up, she would say, make sure you have a flanella on. It's this, undershirt. I know what prika means as well when we got married. Yeah, it's great to have you. Great to have you. Thank you. Beautiful country. Next up, Amazing Science is saying, hi, Chris. How do I find a great team for a business? Yeah. So I would go to a lot of meetup events. Yeah. And so let's say that you're a marketing type salesperson and you need to find your Wozniak, like jobs in Wozniak. You need to find a techie to partner with, for your yin yang, so you complete the business. What Steve Jobs and Woz used to do, and they met in school, but they used to go to conferences. And one of them was called the Homebrew Computing Club here in the Bay Area, which is where they got discovered by venture capitalists. But what you can, and it's free to go to those things. What you can do is you can go to a virtual version of the brew computing market or group, go to meetup.com. I'll show you what this is. So meetup.com, and this works in every country on the planet. Go to meetup.com and just enter in what you're interested in, and you can attend meetings in person or over Zoom for anything. So this one here is Women Who Code San Francisco, and it knows where I am IP address wise because I'm here in the Bay Area. And then this one here, I'm picking a random one, is the Monterey Bay Area Hiking Group. These are wonderful. I want to go on a hike now. Yeah, there's tons of them. So if you live in Riyadh, you can search Saudi Arabia. You can search for Riyadh Toastmasters to go to public speaking events, or you can go to technology events. So let's say that you want to find somebody that's an expert in hardware design. What you do is type hardware, I guess, hit enter, and see what meetup groups there are. So there's Women in Robotics, which meets monthly. That looks fun. Look at that. Here in the Bay Area. There's another one called Circuit Launch. There's another one called San Francisco Startups and Investors Meetup Group. And again, this is based on where I live. Okay, right here, hardware meetup group. Or what you can do is you can make it more specific and search on, I don't know, programming languages like Python, I guess. And for me, this is close to where I live. So here is Noise Bridge Hackerspace. They have Python classes, that sort of thing. So San Francisco Python Presentation Night. I almost said Presbyterian Night, which would have been cool as well. You know, Women in Python Professional. Love that graphic. Yeah. So there's a meetup for everything, kind of like there's an app for everything. And so just go to meetup.com and type up what you're interested in and go to those events either virtually or in person. And that's a great way to network because relationships are always more important than product knowledge, and your net worth is your network. And it's free. Okay, next question is from NKid, who's saying, Dear Chris, how do I value a 5-year-old company? Any thumb rule for valuation? Thank you. Yeah. So usually when I value companies, I try to value using 3 different methodologies when I come up with a target price for companies that I want to invest in that are publicly traded or private even. And the reason I use 3 different valuation methodologies, and investment bankers do the same thing as well with sales memos when companies go public. The reason you use 3 different valuation methodologies is because one of the ways that you value is going to be way, way off. You don't know which one. But if you take the average target price using 3 different valuation methodologies, then you'll minimize the margin of error. And so the valuation methodologies I like to use are price to earnings, which means price divided by earnings, which means for every $1 in earnings, how many times am I paying that $1 for that company? If the company's growing fast, I pay a higher price to earnings ratio. If it's growing slowly, I pay a lower price to earnings ratio. And the rule of thumb is this. Let's just say that the stock market historically trades at 12 times earnings, meaning for every $1 the average company makes in the stock market, investors pay 12 times earnings. And the average growth rate for the average company on the stock market is growing 12% per year. So that means you're paying 12 times for a company growing 12% per year. Now, if a company is growing at earnings at 25% per year, you're going to pay 25 times that. If a company is growing at 9% earnings per year, you'll pay 9% that sort of thing. And that's why when companies, if they miss earnings that they report quarterly, if they miss earnings by, say, 25%, a lot of times the stock goes down 25%. Another way to value companies aside from price to earnings is to look at price to revenue, which is like price earnings, but for revenue. And that means this. Denominator is revenue, or sales, same thing. Sales and revenue is the same thing. Denominator is revenue, and the numerator is price. So for every $1 in revenue, investors are willing to pay this many times that $1 in revenue. And the reason you look at price to revenue is because a lot of companies are not profitable. So if you can't value them based on earnings, you have to look at price to revenue. And every sector is different. So you need to take the price to revenue multiple of the sector that you're valuing a company based on. So if it's cloud computing, it might be 15 times revenue, depending on what the market is pricing in now for cloud computing companies. If it's a low margin product like retail, it might be just a couple times revenue. And the third and final way to value a company, there's many other ways too, is to use what's called DCF, which stands for discounted cash flow. And what discounted cash flow is you basically take however much money you think a company's going to make every year forever and discount it into today's term using a weighted average cost of capital, an interest rate. The problem with DCF, and I don't like it very much, but I do teach it because it's great to learn and understand how it works. The problem with DCF is there's so many unknown variables. So if I told you x plus 1 equals 3, what is x? Of course it's 2. If I tell you x plus 1 plus q plus w plus microphone equals 17, what is x? We don't know. There's too many unknown variables. And that's what happens with discounted cash flow. There's too many variables. And quite often the value of the company is based on what you think the company will be worth using a terminal value, meaning between year, say, 11 and infinity. And then you have to discount that back as well. So there's just a lot of unknown variables. The bottom line, though, is when you value a company, always try to use 3 different valuation methodologies. In this example I just talked about, I mentioned price earnings, price to revenue, and discounted cash flow. The reason you take 3 different valuation methodologies for target prices, again, is to minimize the margin for error. Okay. Rawlings, how are you? Rawlings is writing, I'm excited to be back. It's been some weeks. Welcome back. Always great to have you. Okay, and Vipul is saying, good morning, Chris. Good morning. Hope you and your family are safe and healthy. We are. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. And Rawlings is saying, I'm a medical doctor from Nigeria, Africa. What does it take to come up with an innovative idea? I'm really working hard to come up with a business idea. Yeah. Yeah. So what I would do is take my complete business plan course. There's a 30-day, 100% money-back guarantee. You can go to my website for more details. That's harouneducation.com. Or take my MBA degree program, and I can actually help you develop your idea if you take the platinum version. But start off with the business plan course because it will really help you crystallize your thought process and understand what kind of company you want to start. We analyze everything too. And you don't need to have a business background or finance background to take the course. It's 9 hours long. I help you create financial statements from scratch. Even if you don't understand anything about finance or accounting, it's cool. We start from scratch. I teach you about the qualitative aspects of analyzing a company, meaning looking at the total addressable market, a SWOT analysis, which means strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, how to assess a management team, how to raise money, and much, much more. The most important thing, though, when it comes to starting a company and raising money is to be able to network a lot and meet with high net worth investors. And you can always go to my website, harouneducation.com, and scroll down and download this book. It's free. It's 200 pages. It'll teach you how to network based on my success raising and managing over $1 billion in my career. And I made plenty of mistakes. So I document my mistakes here too. And you can learn a lot from me based on my failures and a couple of successes too. And there's a couple hours of YouTube videos that you can link to through this as well. Yeah. And speaking of Nigeria and healthcare, I just finished watching a great 3-part documentary on Bill Gates on Netflix. It's amazing, and for a large part of the documentary is about the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, of course, and they talk about how they cured a couple of very rare diseases in Nigeria by using big data analysis and geotagging and just understanding the landscape of Nigeria a lot better. And they eradicated polio because of that as well. So watch that documentary if you get a chance, because I think it'll give you a lot of great med tech or medical tech business model ideas to think about. And then take my complete business plan course and write your business plan. And then contact Bill Gates. That's right. Contact Bill and Melinda Gates and the Gates Foundation to see if they can finance your company. All you got to do is ask. Ask and you'll receive. It's prophetic. It's been true since the beginning of time. And if I could humbly help you in any way as you build out your business plan, please let me know, and thank you. Okay. Okay. And my dad's a doctor. My dad and my brother are radiologists, which means they fix radios. Yeah. No? That's the only dad humor today, I promise. No more ever again. All right, next up, Thanks, Chris, for the answer on the feedback and asking for a raise. That is helpful and spot on. My pleasure. My pleasure. Ask and you will receive. It's prophetic and it's been true since the beginning of time. Okay, next up, we got Vipul is asking, how do you deal with negative people? Very simple. Cut them off. If anybody is bringing you down and impacting your life and your happiness and your career prospects, you don't have to be around them. You're not a tree. You can move. Cut them off. They don't deserve to be in your life. Cut them off. And I'm a much happier person and more successful now in my life because I cut off people that are negative. You know, there's a lot of negative people in our lives. And when I was younger, it was usually, 5 strikes, you're out. Now it's 1 strike, you're out. And if my gut, if even a tiny part of me feels that this person that I'm meeting, a new person, is not going to enhance my life or is going to bring me down or my family down or whatever it is, don't waste your time developing that friendship because you're taking away time you could have spent with your kids or your family, your spouse. Cut them off. They don't deserve to be in your life. You know, and as Dr. Seuss said, those who mind don't matter and those who matter don't mind. Get rid of people, toxic people in your life. Okay. Now, what if you can't? What if you can't get rid of certain people in your life? And I understand. Like there are some people at work, you just can't get them out of your life. So what you can do is just don't give in to their poisonous politics. When they approach you and they ask your opinion on something, and regardless of what your answer is, or if they complain about something, I should say, they complain about something, and they're trying to bait you, what you do is you say 2 words. You say this. You say, I understand. That's it. Because you're not saying I agree with you or disagree with you, and you can't be held accountable for saying I understand. If you can't cut them off, say I understand. But try your best, please, to cut people off from your life that bring you down. They don't belong in your life. They don't. And after you cut them off, you'll feel a great sigh of relief as well. Sigh of relief. Yeah, we're all a product of our environments. You know, if drinking coffee makes you happy and listening to Enya, and I love Enya, by the way. I didn't always admit that. I don't know why, but when I was younger, in my fraternity days, I had a CD collection, and then I had a couple of CDs I refer to as drawer music, meaning you put them in your drawer because you're embarrassed. I'm not embarrassed anymore. I love Enya. I love classical music. And I mention this because I get to control my environment by listening to wonderful music that gets me into a peak mental state. I can control my environment. I can control who I hang out with. So can you. Control your environment. Get them out of your life. They don't deserve to be in your life at all. And they're bringing you down. So cut them off. And if you can't cut them off, then whenever they criticize you, I want you to tell yourself this. I want you to thank them in your head for criticizing you because they're envious. Remember this quote. Write this down, please. Unjustified criticism is nothing more than a disguised compliment. One more time. Unjustified criticism is nothing more than a disguised compliment. And so when somebody criticizes you unjustly, in your mind, smile and be happy and thank them for that compliment. Next up is Nishant, who's saying, hey, Chris, hey, man, I finished your complete MBA course last week. You're such an amazing human being and teacher. Thank you. I appreciate that. God bless you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And then you wrote here, I specifically prepared a small notebook to note down your insights and quotes you mentioned throughout the course. Thank you. Thank you. I have a lot of great quotes, none of which are mine. So I repurpose other people's quotes. This week's is Albert Einstein. Your imagination is your preview of life's coming attractions. I've got another great one over here from the wonderful Mark Twain, who said the secret of getting ahead is getting started. And then I've got a wonderful quote from a football coach named Vince Lombardi. He was a coach for the Green Bay Packers. He said, it's not whether you get knocked down, it's whether you get back up. I love that quote. I love that quote. And I added a new camera angle this week, as you might have seen, so you can see a bunch of the other posters here that I'm putting up. And I finally was able to buy a robotic arm because I want to, like, I do all this myself here. I'm an army of one when I do this weekly call. And I want to teach you all how to be an army of one as well, regardless of your budget, And so for my students in my MBA degree program, I teach you how to create an amazing backdrop based on what you have. If you have an iPhone or an Android handset and light bulbs at home, which you do, and internet connection, you can create a great backdrop. And I'll teach you exactly how to do that. But yeah, I try to do it all myself from here. And my goal is to take on John Oliver, who's a lot of fun to watch, or other talk show hosts with just myself and a bunch of cameras. And the way I do it, if you're curious, is, and I made a ton of mistakes, but I have pedals down here below my feet on my treadmill, which I use a lot when I'm working. I raise up my desk. But I have pedals that I bought, and I plug them in USB ports, and I map them just for different keys. And I have them set up here sequentially, so in order of where the cameras are. So there's 5 pedals down here. So, and I also have lights here I've been experimenting with here. These are cheap DJ lights, but I can't figure it out. So I'll turn that off for now. Phew, I got it turned off, yeah. But the pedals are in order here. Okay, so the pedal on the left is this one here. And then the center one is here. The one just to the left, just to the right of that. Okay, this is my A camera. The other ones are my B cameras. Okay. And then I've got here, this is on a slider. And I got this idea from Dan Rather, who has a great Udemy course. And this is called a one-man crew or OMC slider, which is what you see when you interview people. It kind of moves slowly. See, it's slightly moving. Then I have this one here, which is my oldest camera, but I use it the best because I understand it best. And then this one here, all the way on the right, is this camera here. And that's my Canon M50 Mark IV or 5D. No, it's not Canon 5D Mark IV up there. Yeah. So there's that one there. So I'm having fun. I'm trying to push the goalpost out. And you'll notice here the floor is a different color. And what I did was I made this floor for $40. It looks like it's dark wood. It's not. It's actually a bunch of puzzle pieces that I put together for $40. You can buy it on Amazon. And then what you do, and I haven't finished all of it yet in my little studio here. But what you do is you peel off the sides of it if you want to. Let me get a better camera angle, closer one here. Yeah, you peel off the sides of it. It's just foam, and then you can lock them together as well. And then you just use double-sided tape underneath that, which is a lot of fun. So, yeah. But I still make mistakes. This is week 96. I make a ton of mistakes. Yeah. The older I get, the better I was. Okay. I have a very specific question. I've come to a conclusion that in order to really discover your full potential, you have to be in a country where politics is not really dictating and controlling small and medium businesses to a major extent, like the United States. Yeah. So, and then you wrote here, if I give myself the next 10 years with a goal to finally end up in the United States to fulfill my potential and leave a mark for my future generations, what specific steps, you wrote here, 1, 2, 3, would you suggest to finally achieve my dream by becoming a respected and successful Indian American entrepreneur? Yeah, thanks for the question. First of all, we've witnessed the death of distance over the past 3 months or so. You could start a company anywhere you want in the world. And I mentioned 3 months because of this awful COVID crisis. I think that a lot of people are going to look back and say, yes, this was a terrible, awful time in history. And I pray every day that we find a cure quickly. However, when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. I think a lot of people are going to look back at this period in time and say, this was my opportunity to start my own company from home. It costs you nothing to start a company. You don't have to be in Silicon Valley or anywhere in America. You can be anywhere in the world because everybody has internet access everywhere. And all you need is a browser and a computer and a big heart and a willing to fail many times. You can start a company anywhere. And it's not expensive to do. Getting access to online cloud repositories like Amazon Web Services or, Google Office applications or whatever it might be, WhatsApp for communication or YouTube or live webcasts like this cost you nothing. That wasn't always the case. Before when you started companies, you had to buy expensive server equipment and all this stuff. All you need is a browser and heart. So take my complete business plan course. There's a 30-day, 100% money back guarantee. Or sign up for my MBA degree program that also has a 100% 30-day money back guarantee. And I'll help you. Humbly, I'll try my best to help you start your own company, and live your life in your own terms. You don't have to be in the United States to start a company and change the world. You don't. We just witnessed the death of distance. You could start a company anywhere in the world, So I wouldn't, I don't know if I would not make America your goal just to start a company. I think you can start it anywhere in the world. You don't have to be here. Udemy, for example, was started by a brilliant young man in Turkey. It doesn't matter where you're located. We all have access to internet. We all do. Yeah. Now, you wrote here, what steps do I need to take to get to America? So I'll answer that. And I'm smiling because I'm thinking of Eddie Murphy Coming to America, which is one of my favorite movies ever. I know every line from that movie. Every line. And they're making part 2 soon, I think. Hopefully. Yeah. That was Eddie Murphy's best movie. But if you want to get to America, then there's a couple things you can do. Number one, you can work. And I think you mentioned you're in India here. Yeah. You can work for an American company in India and then climb the ranks, do exceptionally well, and get transferred to the mothership, the headquarters here in America. That's probably the best way. Number two, you can actually start a company, do exceptionally well, and then immigrate to America. There is a way to do that. Okay, I'm not going to go into much details, but you can Google that and talk to an immigration attorney. Or number three, you can go to a school here in America, and while you're here, you can get a student visa to work part-time and do an exceptionally good job to the extent that the American company will pay for all of your visa paperwork, which is what happened with me with Goldman Sachs. They were good to me. Yeah. So, and if you have additional questions, please let me know. But the bottom line message is you don't have to come to the United States to start a successful company. You can be anywhere in the world. And if you want to learn how to code, you can learn for $10. One course can change your life. Go to Udemy's website, take courses from Rob Percival or from Angela Yu. They're both based in England, which means they speak gooder than me. But you can learn a ton about how to code from scratch. I don't care how old or young you are. I don't care if you don't know how to use a computer. You can learn from scratch. It's fun. You got nothing to lose and everything to gain. Rudy, how are you? It's been a long time, Rudy. You said, I hope you're doing well and God bless you. God bless you more. Rudy, I think you started an insurance company. I remember, right? You started an insurance company. Let me know how that's going and if I can be helpful in any way. But it's been at least 6 months, at least. I hope you're doing well. It's great to hear from you, man. Next up, Sheva is saying, hi, Chris. Hope you're doing well. Oh, by the way, if I ever mispronounce anyone's name, please let me know. Okay? Please let me know. All right. Next question is from Jacqueline. Is it Jacqueline or Jacqueline? Just kidding. My mom's name is Jackie or Jacqueline, so we joke Jacqueline. But if I mispronounce anyone's name, please let me know. Please. Thank you. So you wrote, hi, Chris. Hope you're doing well. What do you think of money-losing companies? Yeah. So I don't mind investing in many money-losing companies if they're early stage. And so what I'm teaching my MBA degree program students this week is about venture capital. And so right here, the first time you invest in a company or the first time a company raises money, it's seed money that they get. Then a venture capital firm does what's called the A round 1 or 2 years later. Then another VC firm does the B round and the C round, and sometimes more rounds, but eventually the end goal is to go public, hence the big tree. So I don't mind investing in companies that aren't profitable. I don't mind as long as it's early stage, as long as I can create a financial model and really believe in this passionate CEO that she or he can change the world and eventually build this business. It's kind of like the movie Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. And if you haven't seen that movie, please see it. It's prophetic. There's so many great religious undertones as well. I absolutely love it. Kevin Costner did a wonderful job. God bless you, Kevin Costner, for making baseball movies, and please make more baseball movies. But if you build it, they will come. It's that mentality, But you got to write a business plan first, obviously, and you can take my my complete business plan course on Udemy, or you can sign up for my MBA degree program, and I'll humbly do the best I can to humbly help you build up a company that's going to put your dent in the universe. The bottom line is, I don't mind investing, and venture capitalists don't mind investing in companies that aren't profitable until they go public, and maybe slightly before they go public. Because if you try to be profitable too early, you're not investing enough. Like Amazon could have been profitable from day one if they didn't hire any engineers or any salespeople, but they wouldn't have been growing. So I always believe in grow fast today and monetize later. Yeah. And when I value companies that are not profitable today, I look at what I think their earnings will be in 10 or 15 years, and I value the company based on earnings in 10 or 15 years. And so you can take my complete financial analyst training course for more details on how to value companies and create financial models. And if you have additional questions, as always, please let me know. Thank you. All right, hold on. Ugh. Trying this new angle here. It's weird though. It makes my hair look really black here because of the lighting. It's bizarre. Or maybe I should have a really bad hair job last night when I was dyeing my hair. Yes, I do dye my hair. Oh my God, I did a terrible job. No, it's my fault, not the lighting. Oh my God. I left it on for like an hour. I was working. You're supposed to leave it in the Just for Men stuff for like 10 minutes, whatever. And it says it's got auto stop, but oh my God, look at that. I look like an idiot. Laugh at me, not with me, please. Yeah. All right. Alrighty. Next question is, Kevin is saying, what are the best types of businesses to purchase today? Yeah. So it depends what kind of an investor you are. There's two classifications of investors. You're either a value investor like Warren Buffett, which means you buy cheap stocks that aren't growing very fast. They're cheap for a reason. Or you can buy growth stocks like venture capitalists do, like I do. Meaning companies that are expensive today, but they're growing quickly, and you pay a premium for them. And it's very contentious, value versus growth investors. They fight a lot. It's like religion or politics as well. You're either one or the other. And never invest in a company that is in between growth and value, because when you transition from growth to value, it takes at least 10 years, and you're in what I call investment purgatory. And the reason why stocks suck that are in that transition zone, and every big growth stock eventually becomes a value stock. The reason why they suck as investments is because growth investors don't want to invest because they're not growing, but value investors don't want to invest because they're not cheap enough. And so what happens is it usually sits in investment purgatory for a decade, and it's the worst kind of investment you can make because it doesn't move at all. Now, what you can do to truncate that time, make it shorter, is you could be an activist investor, like Carl Icahn, for example, with his private equity firm, and force the company to change faster so that it can transition and unlock shareholder value quickly. Yeah, like he did with eBay, PayPal. He joined the board. He muscled his way on the board of eBay and forced eBay to break up into two different companies. The core sleepy eBay that value investors love, that's not growing fast, but it's got good revenue visibility from the auction business, which is counter-cyclical because people sell more stuff in recessions. Then you have the high growth investment of PayPal, which is growing quickly but expensive. And so he was able to, Carl Icahn was able to break up the company into two pieces, which satisfied growth investors and value investors, which unlocked shareholder value. Yeah. So it all depends on your investment methodology. Are you a growth investor or a value investor in terms of how you want to value companies? But what I like to look at usually is when I look at companies, and you can take my complete financial analyst course on Udemy, but I usually do one-page write-ups at least before I invest in companies. And before I start companies, I write business plans. And you can take my complete business plan course for more details on that. But I tend to look at companies with great management teams always, because ideas are commodities and execution is not. I also asked myself a pretty basic question, which is this. In 5 years, is this company going to be more relevant or less relevant than it is today? And that will stop you from buying value traps like technology companies that are in secular decline, like my beloved Research in Motion, the parent company of BlackBerries. Those handsets that not as many people use anymore. They're cheap for a reason. And I think when technology companies go into secular decline, you just can't reverse it. They're done. It's a slippery slope. And most turnarounds don't work in technology. Maybe one per decade. And one turnaround that did work was IBM. And this is a great book from the former CEO of IBM, a brilliant man named Lou Gerstner. And I went to school with his son, who passed away recently, God bless him. But Lou Gerstner, who's still with us, thank goodness, he turned IBM around. And this is a great book called Who Said Elephants Can't Dance? Great book on how he turned around IBM. And the way he did it was he realized in the early 90s that IBM can't compete with other companies that make hardware products in different markets and overseas. And inventory is a big problem with hardware. That's why you don't really hear of that many hardware startups getting funding, or semiconductor startups. So what he did was he spun off a lot of the hardware stuff from IBM, like their printer division, which was called Lexmark. A lot of people don't realize that Lexmark was an IBM company. He also spun off the ThinkPad division, those awesome computers. I love them, the ThinkPads, especially the Carbon line, the X1s. I love that. But he spun off ThinkPad to Lenovo, which is a great Chinese company. And he focused on software and services. And it's brilliant because software has very high profit margins. Doesn't cost you anything to print a CD or to sell software over the web. You don't have inventory problems. And services, IBM's global services division, it's brilliant. That's their consulting group. And it's brilliant because what IBM does is they use IBM's consulting division to sell their software at a discount sometimes to clients. And it allows them to compete aggressively with other great consulting firms like Accenture. And I know this for a fact because I worked at Accenture years ago. And Accenture, they sent me down to Charlotte, North Carolina in 97, 98, where I worked on the merger of Nations Bank and Bank of America. And while I was at Accenture, I noticed that B of A, or Bank of America / Nations Bank, they hired IBM to do consulting, meaning their global services division. And it was tough competing against them when I was at Accenture because IBM would always come up with these great software solutions based on products they owned, like Lotus Notes they own, or Rational, another company, ticker used to be RATL. David Henschel used to be the CFO. He's now the CEO of Citrix, ticker CTXS. Yeah. But they have great software products that they could actually distribute through that distribution channel at a discount. So anyway, IBM's a great company. And they certainly turn themselves around. And only one turnaround works every decade in tech. But usually what I think is that when a tech company goes into secular decline, meaning it starts becoming a little bit less important, it's over. And only one turnaround works every decade or so when it comes to technology. And for more details on that, I wrote an article in VentureBeat magazine, venturebeat.com, years ago when I worked in VC, venture capital. And the article was titled, When a Founder Leaves a Company, Investors Should Run for the Exits. And I really do believe when a founder leaves a tech company and all the founders have left and are no longer involved at all, even from an advisory perspective, when the founders are no longer involved, you got to run for the exits because bureaucracy sets in. And there's not as much of an incentive usually, and there's exceptions, but not as much of an incentive to innovate. For example, Hewlett-Packard is tragic. But a lot of people that worked at Hewlett-Packard, they didn't want to step out of line when they were climbing the corporate ladder to try to innovate. Because if they did, and they weren't successful in creating a new product, their career's done, and they're no longer climbing the corporate ladder. And if they were successful, they're not going to get paid a lot anyway. So it makes sense to stick with the status quo and not innovate. And usually when founders leave, bureaucracy sets in and politics. And I have a good friend who wanted to leave wanted to leave Hewlett-Packard a couple of years ago. And I sat down with him. I was like, great, dude, I want to help you. He was there 20 years. And I was helping him with his resume and LinkedIn profile, which I do a lot. And I asked him, what have you learned? And he said, well, Chris, the only thing I've learned is how to navigate HP politics. And that's not a portable skill. So the bottom line is usually when founders all leave a company and are no longer involved, investors should run for the exits. And turnarounds only work in tech once per decade. Great book, Who Said Elephants Can't Dance by Lou Gertzner, a brilliant man who turned around IBM. He used to work at McKinsey as well. All right. And this is the most Canadian bookends ever. My parents recently downsized from their house to an apartment in Mississauga, Canada, where I'm from. And they were going to throw these out. You can't throw these out. These are dope. I love these things. The most Canadian bookends ever. Plus, when I was a kid, I used to drink Moosehead beer in Canada because it was great branding. Yeah. Actually, that's probably the only reason. It was great branding. It was cool. Yeah. Okay. Next question is from Naveed. Naveed is asking, hey, Chris, actually, my question is about to start e-business platforms for B2C, meaning business to consumer, meaning companies selling to consumers online. My business is about starting an e-business platform for B2C in land brokerage. I mean, customers sell their property with business people. Could you please tell me government policies and risk in this business model? Let me think about this. I don't know, actually. I've never started a land brokerage business. I've invested a lot in real estate. My wife and I, we recently bought a building in London, Ontario, close to University of Western, because universities are counter-cyclical. I'm not an expert in that area. I'm so sorry. I don't know. But what you can do is take my complete business plan course, because I'll go through every aspect of starting a business, which might help you from a policy perspective. I don't know. And I don't know what country you're in, but maybe you want to contact your congressperson or your member of parliament, your MP. They work for you. They're elected by the people for the people. Call them and ask them, and they might be able to help you out. Yeah. Or find people that have started successful land brokerage or real estate companies where you live. Find them on LinkedIn, and then go to my website and download my networking book, because it'll teach you how to get meetings with those people as well, and ask them. You know, all you gotta do is ask. It's prophetic, it's been true since the beginning of time. Ask and you will receive. Okay. All right. So we only have, unfortunately, about 3 or 4 minutes left. And then I got to start. I have MBA for my MBA degree students in my Gold and Platinum program. I have office hours with them, and then one-on-one meetings with my students in those programs. So if you, and the reason I have this clock here is because I do 20-minute one-on-ones. All my students get several hours of one-on-ones, but I do 20-minute one-on-ones, and that's why I have that there. And I just so we only have like 2 or 3 minutes left now. If your question wasn't answered by me, I apologize. There's usually a big backlog. What you can do is you can copy the question and then paste it next week. Or if you're my MBA degree student, just ask on the MBA degree student office hours call. It starts today at 11:15 a.m. for the Gold and Platinum students. Or just copy your questions and ask them next week. Okay. All right, next up, Rawlings is saying, thanks for everything. Your course on networking is amazing. Thank you. Thank you. And you wrote, it really affected me positively applying knowledge on LinkedIn and beyond. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Next question is, I'm taking your cryptocurrency course, which is excellent, by the way. Thank you. I have a question about crypto exchanges. Is it illegal for U.S. citizens to use foreign unregulated exchanges? Thanks. That's a great question, Phil. I don't think so. I mean, the U.S. government can't tell you what to do with your money. I mean, if it's an exchange or an unethical exchange or black market exchange, then obviously that's against the law. Like Mt. Gox, that incident a couple of years ago here in America. But I don't see why. And crypto markets, for the most part, in most countries are not regulated anyway. I just think that you got to make sure that you pay taxes properly. And I was interviewed on NBC years ago, a couple of years ago, whatever, on cryptocurrencies and taxes. So just do a search on my name and NBC cryptocurrencies, and be careful when it comes to taxes, because the IRS will come after you, and they can find you too. they actually have a backdoor way to get access to data from Coinbase, from their exchange, that wallet company. And they usually go after people that transact at least $20 worth in cryptos, but they can get access to that. There's nowhere to hide. And the precedent that kind of allows the government to do this is back in 2009, the U.S. government was able to get access to Swiss bank accounts for Americans that have money hiding there. There's nowhere to hide. But please watch that interview that I gave on NBC about cryptocurrency and taxes. And thank you for the compliment in the course. Thank you. All right. How are we doing on time here? Yeah. So we're going to have to wrap up the call right now. I apologize if I didn't get through to your questions. Within 24 hours of this call concluding, you can go to the description field of this course, of this call, YouTube call, and my team writes up all the questions and at what time. So you can click and get immediate access to the answers. If I did not answer your question and you're one of my MBA degree program students, you can ask me in our MBA office hours call that starts in 15 minutes. Or what you can do is you can just copy and paste the question and ask me next week. So thanks everybody for your time. If you subscribe to my vlog, I'll see you tomorrow and every day because I vlog every single day. I'm on day number 695 now. We're almost at 700 days. I'll see you tomorrow on my vlog. Otherwise, I will see you. Whoops, that's my alarm to stop. Sorry about that. Otherwise, if I don't, I'll see you all next week at 8 a.m. and every week at 8 a.m. Thursday forever. Thanks a lot. God bless you all, and have a healthy and happy and safe weekend. Thanks again. Hi, I'm Chris Haroun, and this MBA degree program is not what you think it is. It's better. This program is more than 25 years of business experience, all rolled into one easy-to-access online program. I've sold over 1 million courses in every single country. I've worked at Goldman Sachs. I have an MBA from Columbia University. And I've worked in the venture capital, hedge fund, and consulting industries. I've also started many companies, and my courses have been featured in Forbes, Business Insider, CNN, and NBC. If you're ready to nail your next interview, get a better job, get a raise, start that business you've always dreamt of, improve the one you currently run, or better manage your personal finances, then this MBA degree program is for you. I can't begin to tell you how comprehensive this program is. It's got everything, including more than 300 hours of on-demand video. I would have to do one of those dramatic opening title crawls from a certain space movie just to show you. And check out all the amazing reviews from students who have already enrolled in this MBA degree program. This on-demand version of the program is only $499, and it's more up to date than many of these old-fashioned MBA programs, which cost you well over $100,000. Not to mention, they don't even teach you the practical concepts included in my program. Last but not least, there is a 30-day, 100% money-back guarantee. And because you can access this program from any device, meaning a desktop computer, or a laptop computer, or a tablet, or even your smartphone, it means you can comfortably fit it into your schedule. Even if you work full-time, it's no problem. So if you're ready to unlock the key to your potential, then I'll see you in class.